You are funny.
Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting of the Carrollton-Farmers Branch ISD Board of Trustees is called to order at 7:07 p.m. on May the 1st, 2014. Thank you all for being here. At this time, if you would please stand and join me as Richard Fleming leads the board's opening prayer, and remain standing as Nancy Watton leads the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag.
Please bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this brand new day that you've given us. We come to you today from many walks of life, but yet we're united in the goal of educating all students in CFB ISD. May you always give us the wisdom to make the right decision, give us inspiration to meet the needs of the future, and continue to guide our students and give them the vision and courage as they are our future leaders. In your name, we pray. Amen. Like that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please be seated.
I don't know what I'd do without that. That's sad, isn't it?
Please allow me just a couple of minutes for some housekeeping issues. As a district, we dedicate all of our efforts and resources to our goal of high achievement for all students. And the board uses this goal to guide all of our deliberation, decisions, and actions. And you will get to see all deliberation, actions, and decisions of this board in open session, with the exception of some items which may be discussed in a closed session as stipulated in the Texas Government Code Section 551, which is commonly known as the Open Meetings Law. And these items typically deal with personnel matters, consultation with our attorney, and real estate. For the record, all board members are here, and we do constitute a quorum and can conduct business on behalf of the school district. As required by our board policy, BBD Local, at each meeting of the board, the president shall announce, and the minutes shall reflect, the name of each board member who has completed the required training, who has exceeded the required hours of training, or who is deficient in the required hours of training as of the date of the meeting before any vote of the board is taken. So let the minutes reflect that all members of the Carrollton-Farmers ISD Board of Trustees have completed and exceeded the annual requirement for school board member continuing education for the 2013-2014 school year. That being said, now we'll move on to Agenda Item 2, recognition of special guests and announcements. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Good, members of the board. We'd like to welcome all our guests tonight. Standing room only, that's a good sign. It's kind of like a Maverick game, not so much like a Cowboy game, but thank you for being here. We're going to start with our VIPs, and I'll start with a quote that kind of captures the purpose of why we do our VIP celebration. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. Thankfulness may consist merely of words. Gratitude is shown in acts. This VIP recognition ceremony is our act of gratitude to our educators that work so hard, give so much of their time to help us reach our goal of high achievement for all students. We'd like to invite family, friends, and colleagues to join us in this act of gratitude tonight, and please stand when your VIP is introduced. And now at this time, Mr. Good, would you please join me in front to express our gratitude?
Excellent.
It's already high.
Good evening, Mr. Good, school board members, and Dr. Burns. My name is Aviance Jones, principal at Las Colinas Elementary IB World School. My staff and I are here tonight to introduce you to our newest member of the very important professional of teaching, Mrs. Ann Lee. Mrs. Lee, our courageous, kind, and courteous content mastery teacher, is very deserving of such a high honor. She is the definition of whatever it takes. In and out of classrooms, working with teachers and students, keeping up with several different grade level curriculums, and being an advocate for some of our mighty Mustangs when they don't feel so mighty. She supports and encourages each of them to reach our district goal of high achievement for all students. Her students shared many great things about her. One student said, "Mrs. Lee is silly. She helps me with questions on my writing and reading." Another student shared, "She's awesome and cool. She's glad when I do good stuff and helps me with my spelling words. She also helped me take the star like a boss." The Mustang teachers and staff are equally impressed with the dedication and care Mrs. Lee brings to Las Colinas. Dr. Neinmeyer, our diagnostician, says, "Ann has a calm attitude, even when outward circumstances seem discouraging. When she says, 'fun times,' she makes me smile. She is a good listener to students, teachers, and parents. She really identifies with exceptional children who struggle academically because of dealing with children's individual differences close to her. Her suggestions to parents are practical and informed. She takes everything in stride, whether it's planning star accommodations or planning her field day activity." Mrs. Carter, our CM aide, added, "Ann is one of a kind. She sees me as an equal and makes me feel very appreciated. She knows how to have fun, but also knows when to be serious. She values every student and will go out of her way to meet their needs. In addition to academics, she genuinely cares about how they feel and makes sure they know they can trust her with anything. She is an advocate for our special friends in every way and makes sure that every person is part of their plan for success. In addition to the students, she also deeply cares about her peers. She checks on them regularly, especially when she knows they are going through a difficult time, and makes sure they are doing okay, as well as asking if she can do anything to help. I am so thankful to work alongside her. She makes me want to work harder so that I can be like her when I have my own classroom someday." As you've heard, Mrs. Lee is a valued and respected member of our Mustang team. She is also a devoted wife to her husband, Randy, and very involved and dedicated mother to her two boys, Christopher and Jared. I know they feel as lucky as we do to have Ann as part of their lives. Las Colinas Elementary, IB World School, and CFB are indeed fortunate to have Mrs. Ann Lee as a member of the very important professional of teaching.
Good evening. I'm Bridget O'Connor, the principal of Charlie McCamey Elementary School, and I'm very proud to present our VIP, Amanda Custer. Amanda Adams Custer is a product of CFB. She's actually, I just found out, a third-generation product of CFB. She attended Country Place Elementary. I'm going to get there. She attended Country Place Elementary, Perry Middle School, and R.L. Turner High School. Her mother attended Perry Middle School and R.L. Turner High School, and her grandmother graduated from Carrollton High School. Wow. So a true third generation. After CFB, she attended and graduated from UNT, And in the fall of 2007, we were like the little old lady that lived in a shoe. We had too many kindergartners and we didn't know what to do. But we found Miss Custer, and she fit in just perfectly. She jumped right in, and I was amazed by her talent and dedication to her students right away. To use a sports analogy, I know you like those, Dr. Burns. She's a great utility player. She's going to shine wherever I ask her to go. She has taught kindergarten, pre-K, and now first grade. Who knows what spot I'll find for her next year. Everyone would love to have her on their team. After school, you'll find her all over the building because she has friends in every single grade level. And that's because she's always wanted to volunteer and help in any way. She is tutored for STAR, coached our academic Olympians. She even took on chairing our hospitality committee, or some people call it Sunshine Committee. She thought that would be a piece of cake. Little did she know people have a lot of opinions on how that cake should be baked. In spite of it all, she does truly bring a bit of sunshine to all of us. She brightens the day for the students and staff each and every day. She has tons of smiles for her colleagues and her students. I don't believe she truly realizes the positive impact she has on everyone. A teacher that has only been at McCamey for 2 years wrote, even though I know Amanda, I do this. Even though I've only known Amanda for a short time, I want to say that she's one of those people that when she is around, you just know things are going to be okay. She has this quick, witty, and smart way of looking at any situation. Another teacher wrote, I was Amanda's student teacher. I was really nervous starting a new career path. During my observation period, I remember thinking, she's good, really, really good. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. She was extremely calm and so engaging. She could tell she really loved teaching and her students. Now that I have my own classroom at McCamey, I realize teaching isn't easy, but I still have Amanda as a mentor and a friend. She's always approachable and easy to talk to. She's a team player and always willing to go the extra mile to help anyone. I aspire to be only half as great as you are one day. One of the former pre-K students, who is now in 4th grade, Jayla, had this to say. I remember the very first day, you had a big smile on your face. You were ready to teach your new students. When I walked into your class, I was just a shy little girl. Now I'm a successful little girl with a big voice. You taught me to do most of the stuff I do today. I would be the same shy little girl I was in pre-K, but because of you, thank you for making me who I am today. I can't think of a greater testament than these to show us how you were deserving of this honor. We are so proud that you're a McCamey Trailblazer in our VIP.
Good evening, Dr. Burns, President Good, members of the board. My name is Joe LaPuma, and I have the honor of being the principal at Creekview High School. Thank you for having us here tonight and allowing us to recognize Creekview's newest member in the very important profession of teaching, Mr. Peter Myers. Mr. Myers is a 7-year veteran of Creekview High School, where he teaches world experience GT English, forensic psychology, court systems, and mock trial as part of our Law and Criminal Justice Academy. As a leader of our back-to-back state championship mock trial team, Peter, Did I say that the first time? Let me say that again. As a leader of our back-to-back state championship mock trial team, Peter has made a huge impact with our students and with getting Creekview known literally nationwide as having one of the best and most consistent mock trial teams in the nation. Next week, Wednesday, as a matter of fact, Mr. Myers and the state champion mock trial team will be representing Creekview and CFB with pride as they travel to Madison, Wisconsin to compete at the national mock trial competition with 48 other state champions. Look out, everybody. Peter attended Westminster College in Fulton, Missouri, where he majored in English, history, and political science. After earning his bachelor's degree, he went on to the University of Missouri, where he earned his law degree. Prior to coming to Creekview, he was a litigation attorney for Xerox, Halliburton, and AT&T. He knows what he's doing, mock trial students. I asked Peter what he was most proud of in relation to teaching, and this is his response. I find teaching challenging and rewarding, and that I think that I am making more of a difference in life now than when I was an attorney. Senior Sidney Franklin, who will be attending Westminster University in the fall, and who is the lead attorney and captain of the mock trial team, said the following about Mr. Myers. Mr. Myers is truly the epitome of an amazing teacher. He not only delivers us students the information, but he actually cares whether we learn it or not. Mr. Myers teaches in a manner that is conducive to multiple learning styles, and his door is always open. Whether he arrives at 7 a.m. for tutorials or stays until 9 p.m. working with our mock trial team, he truly goes above and beyond his call of duty. I appreciate everything he has done, and he still does. I would not want to be coached by anyone else. Senior Tyler Hoffman, a mock trial veteran, said the following: Mr. Myers exemplifies what every teacher should be like. He pushes all his students and doesn't stop until they reach their full potential. I am proud to have known and to have been taught by Mr. Myers for the past 3 years. So I asked Mr. Myers, I said, what would he like to share? And this is what he offered up. He offered up this wonderful summary, and this summary kind of gives you a sense of his a bit of his sense of humor as well. This is what he had to say. Joe, there's nothing special about me. True to form, I thought I probably should have received this honor at the end of my first year. Now, after 6 more years of experience, I know that I do not deserve it, but I have had a ball working with those teachers who do, our wonderful colleagues. I feel like Professor Marvel landing in the land of Oz. He told Dorothy he had no experience being a wizard, but times being what they were, he accepted the challenge. I think this VIP thing is not a recognition of what I've done, but a challenge to do better. Peter, you are truly deserving of this recognition. Thank you for all you do, and we are honored to be able to welcome you to CFB's and Creekview's very important profession of teaching.
Mr. Good, members of the board, Dr. Burns, I'm Joe Pouncey, principal at Newman Smith High School, and please join me in welcoming our VIP, Ms. Tiffany Killian. Now, Tiffany Killian grew up in and attended school in Garland, Texas. She then matriculated through the University of North Texas, earning a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Social Sciences in 2003. She joined the Newman Smith faculty in the summer of 2003 and has been an outstanding teacher in every assignment for the past 11 years. Ms. Killian is also an instructional facilitator, and she is a natural teacher when it comes to just teaching and communicating with kids. She can communicate with millennials and Generation Ys, and she can generally communicate with all students. When hired in 2003, she jumped at the opportunity to teach microeconomics. 4 years later, she taught, we assigned her AP macroeconomics, and she had to kind of bone up on that a little bit. She worked very hard to learn every aspect of that dismal science. In fact, she went on to earn a Master of Science degree in Economics History from UNT in 2010. Each spring, her classes are packed with students as they prep for the AP exams. Her class discussions can get a little bit heated and range from gross domestic product to monetary policy and economic stabilization. And, well, you know, we just kind of agreed around that campus that you have to be a frequent reader of The Economist magazine to keep up with her discussions in class. Dynamic, thought-provoking, challenging is Tiffany Killian. Students learn and prep for colleges in our class. Graduates often speak of how Ms. Killian has prepared them to compete academically at the post-secondary level. Ms. Killian is a Dallas Stars and Texas Rangers fan. She's a fan of the Rangers, even with the current pitching situation they got going. She attends several games each year. She is a member of the Texas State Historical Association, and her hobbies include reading fiction and current affairs news articles. Tiffany is always willing to lend a helping hand and give you her opinion, even if you have not asked for it. And at home, she's got a 5-year-old daughter, Ava. We are honored to have such a high-quality and dedicated professional on the Newman Smith faculty. Please welcome our VIP, Tiffany Killian.
Mr. Pouncer, you just going to stay up there?
Yeah, kid.
Okay, all right.
But you're the boss.
That's right. Our next recognition, we're going to do our National Merit Scholars. And so we'll begin with Mr. Joe Pouncey.
Thank you. Dr. Burns, each year about 1.5 million students in more than 22,000 high schools entered the competitive National Merit Scholarship Program for merit awards and academic recognition. And from that number, about 50,000 students qualify for academic recognition. 16,000 semifinalists are normally chosen, and about 15,000 finalists are eventually selected. Eventually, the National Merit Scholarship Corporation select only about 8,000 merit scholarship winners each year. We have one of those winners with us tonight. The National Hispanic Recognition Program honors 5,000 of the highest scoring students from over 250,000 Hispanic Latino juniors who took the PSAT in the United States, Guam, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, Mariana Islands, and the Marshall Islands. For the past 2 or 3 decades, Newman Smith has had normally have a respectable number of merit scholars, and we have a good number tonight. Now, some of the students are not here because they are doing college courses at Brookhaven, and some are working. We have about 8 commended scholars, 2 National Hispanic Recognition Program scholars, 2 National Merit finalists. One of those finalists is a National Merit winner. We also have a special scholar that we want to acknowledge as well. So, students, when I call your name, will you please come forth? And if you don't see them, Dr. Burns, they are somewhere studying. Okay. All right. They're studying or working. Benjamin Rice. Is Ben here? There he is. Mother is Paige Sears. He's in the International Business Academy, a National Honor Society. He's DECA. Well, Ben was one of only 54 high school students in Texas recently to have received a National Football Foundation 2014 Scholar Athlete Award. He's an academic all-state football player. He will attend Louisiana Tech University and major in chemical engineering with a minor in Spanish. Ben Rice. Jeffrey Bergman. Is Jeffrey here? There he is. Parents are Gina and George Bergman. He loves reading and computers. He's a very good student, a very pleasant person to have around that campus. We just love seeing him all the time. He will attend the University of Texas at Dallas and major in computer science. Jeff Bergman. Anna Halpaska. I don't know if she's here. She might not be here. Well, she's in class. And she's a good one. She's in marching band, Wind Symphony, National Honor Society, and Mu Alpha Theta. And she's going to attend Auburn to major in architecture. Is Paulina Heron here? Paulina. Parents are Virginia and Salvador Heron. She's Interact Club president, which is a branch of the Rotary Club of Carrollton-Farmers branch. DECA Vice President, National Honor Society, mock trial, International Business Academy. She will attend the University of Dallas or Cornell University and major in business or Spanish. She is also a National Hispanic Recognition Program scholar as well. Paulina Heron. Jackson Landman. Is Jackson here? Parents are Karen and Charles Landman. He's National French Honor Society, National Honor Society, senior exec, varsity baseball. Will attend the University of Houston and major in chemical and biomolecular engineering. Did I do that right? Did I do it okay? You got it. All right, Jackson Landman. The great Gary McQuistion. Where's Gary? Mother is Pamela McQuistion. Grandmother is Sonia D. Shazo. Excellent young man. He's into reading, outstanding student, a very good tutor extraordinaire. He will attend the University of Texas at Dallas and major in chemical engineering. Gary McQuistion. Brittany Naon. Is Brittany here? She's with the other one. Okay. You know, her parents are Judy and Rick, and she's in the theater and diving, and she will attend the University of North Texas and major in pre-med. Is Jeffrey Parker here? Now, Jeffrey's mother is Nikki Parker. He's an active member of the Go Art Club. He's interested in architecture. His college is undecided. His major is undecided. But Jeff is another good one, Jeffrey Parker. Special recognition to Jeffrey Hong. Is Jeffrey here? Parents are Joe and Jenny Hong. Now, Jeffrey is the 2013 Samsung Mobile Apps Academy Grand Prize Award winner. Now, what that means is that as a high school student, he designed a mobile phone app for Samsung. They adopted it. They paid him some cash, and they assigned some engineers to work with him to develop that program. And it's pretty interesting to see Jeffrey. He called and said, "Ms. Pouncey, when I be at school, I'm going to be in Las Vegas." And I said, "Well, what are you doing in Las Vegas?" "Well, we're going to be there at one of the," what was that, the Hilton? Which one?
Caesar's Palace.
Caesar's Palace. I asked if I could come, but the deal is, he's at Caesar's Palace. He's at Caesar's Palace at the International Consumer Electronics Show. All the biggies were there. He was presenting his program. They were presenting him a check, and it's a pretty interesting deal to see a young man do this. Now, Jeffrey is he's president of everything, involved in everything. He's with the he's with the Science Engineering Pathway. He's president, Robotics Club president, Japanese Club. Will attend the University of Houston, or UTA, or UNT, or anywhere he want to go. He want to major in. He want to major in electrical engineering or construction management. Jeff also is pretty good on building and flying drones all over the campus. So if you see something out there, that's Jeff. Jeffrey Hong. Crystal Hernandez. Where's Crystal? Now, Crystal is a National Hispanic Recognition Program scholar. Mother is Sandra Cazares. She loves poetry and reading. She will attend the University of North Texas and major in psychology. Crystal Hernandez. Now we have two merit finalists. One of the finalists will be notified, well, should have been notified, but they will make it public on May the 7th that she is a winner. But first, we got Cody Yale. Where's Cody? Is Cody here? Well, he's with the other two. Well, Cody is a National Merit finalist. His mother is Molly Ma, and he's an outstanding musician, and he will attend the University of Texas at Austin to major in computer science. What about Rachel Elwin Acker? Where's Rachel? Elwin, come on up. The great Elwin. She's a National Merit finalist, she's a National Merit winner. She's one of the 8,000s all over in the country. Her parents are Wendy and Joseph Acker. She earned a perfect score of 240 on the PSAT. And perfect score on SAT reading and writing sections, and she was 1 point away from earning a perfect score on the ACT. The top score is 36. She made a 35. She is outstanding. She loves creative writing and will attend the University of Oklahoma and major in psychology. The great Elwin Acker. Thank you.
One, two, three. One more. Thank you.
Stay here for your parents to take pictures.
Good evening once again. There is some serious brain power in this room tonight. Creekview High School is pleased to honor and celebrate with Newman Smith a total of 17 students for 3 different achievements this evening. We have 3 National Merit Finalists, 9 Commended Scholars, and 5 National Hispanic Scholars. Approximately 1.5 million high school juniors take the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test each year, and only 16,000 seniors are named semifinalists, representing less than 1% of the top high school seniors in the United States. And Mr. Pouncey and I called each other and verified our notes, so nobody double-check us, okay? About 15,000 finalists are named in February and are eligible for merit scholarships. And I am pleased to introduce 3 of our students from Creekview High School being recognized as National Merit Finalists. Students, when I call your name, please come forward. I know there will be a couple no-shows tonight, but several of you are here. Parents, please stand when your child is recognized. And first, right off the bat, we have Joshua Cho. Joshua? Joshua is the son of Gwynam Cho and Ki Cho. Joshua attended elementary school at Trinity Christian Academy in Addison and Blaylock Middle School. He's a member of the Symphonic Orchestra and placed second in the Young Masters competition for musical composition. Joshua also competed and placed first in UIL spelling as a 9th grader, as a 10th grader, and as a 12th grader. I guess that 11th grade year, you got a pretty tough word. Joshua plans to attend the University of Texas in Austin and major in computer science. Joshua Cho. Next is Mr. Matthew Estrada Milliken. Matthew? Matt is the son of Debbie Milliken. He attended McCoy Elementary and Perry Middle School. I'm really pretty honored that I have been Matt's principal for 7 years, and in spite of that, he's still up here. Matt attended Perry and McCoy. He's been president of the National Honor Society, a staff writer for the Main Event student newspaper, and that kept me busy as well. Matthew is also a principal percussionist in the Creekview Wind Symphony. It was just announced that Matthew will be attending Stanford University in the fall, studying biomedical engineering. Couple other things, perfect score on the SAT. One of 15 students worldwide to score a perfect score on the AP Physics Mechanics test. So yeah, he's got some pretty good strengths. He is also our salutatorian, Matthew. We're very, very proud of you. Next will be Miss Tiffany Leong. Tiffany is the daughter of S.W. and Soon Leong. She attended Kent Elementary and Blaylock Middle School. Tiffany's a member of our National Honor Society and secretary of the Creekview Orchestra. Tiffany received Creekview's Da Vinci Fitzgerald Crimson Honor for Creativity recently, and she's also an AP Scholar with distinction. She plans to attend the University of Texas at Dallas and major in biomedical engineer. Congratulations, Tiffany. Of the more than 1.5 million students who entered this competition, only 34,000 commended students throughout the nation are being recognized for their exceptional academic promise. These students rank in the top 5% of all the students who took the qualifying test, as Mr. Pouncey alluded to earlier, and these students are being recognized as National Merit Commended students. Students, when I call your name, please come forward. Parents, please stand proudly as we recognize your student. First up is Miss Amanda Altenhofen. Amanda? Amanda is the daughter of Brenda and Dale Altenhofen. She attended Rosemead Elementary and Blaylock Middle School. Amanda is president of the choir and a member of senior exec. She's a member of the National Honor Society as well and the treasurer for the National Spanish Honor Society. Amanda plans to attend Baylor University and major in biology with a focus on pre-medicine. Congratulations, Amanda. Next is Jesse Bales. Jesse? Jesse is the son of David and Wendy Bales. Jesse was homeschooled during his elementary years and attended Harmony School of Innovation during middle school. Jesse is the captain of the dive team and a member of the National Honor Society. Jesse is planning to attend the University of Texas at Dallas and study 3D animation. Congratulations, Jesse. Next is Amy Fang, and I don't believe she's here tonight, Amy Fang, but I'm going to read a little bit about her. Amy is the daughter of Peter and Jing Ying Fang. She attended Rosemead and Blaylock. She's the pit captain for our outstanding marching band and a member of our varsity tennis team. Amy received Creekview's Crimson Honor for mathematics, and she plans to attend the University of Texas at Dallas and study biology. Amy, this round of applause is for you. Next is Michelle Huang. Michelle? Michelle is the daughter of Anthony Huang and Zena Zhu. She attended Rainwater in Kent and Blaylock Middle School. She's an executive officer for Student Council and a member of our state academic decathlon team and the National Honor Society. Michelle plans to attend either Carnegie Mellon University or Vanderbilt University and study biology or music. So one more round of applause for Michelle. This student he's studying also, Joe. Willie Wang. Willie is the son of Heek Young Cho. He attended Cooper Elementary in Derby, Kansas, and Robinson Middle School in Wichita, Kansas. Willie is the president of our Japanese club and earned the title of state champion in the Japanese speech contest. He's also an academic decathlon top A student, and he will be attending the University of Texas at Dallas and study computer science, and that's for Willie. Congratulations, Willie. Next is Mr. Kevin Kell. Kevin? Kevin is the son of Kelly and Thomas Kell. He attended Kent and McCoy and Blaylock Middle Schools. Kevin is the vice president of our Creekview Speech and Debate team, as well as the captain of both the tennis team and our world-famous Wranglers. Kevin is treasurer for the National Honor Society, historian of the National Spanish Honor Society, and a senior executive officer. He plans to attend either Notre Dame, Northwestern, or the University of Southern California, and is an undecided major. He has a lot of choices. Congratulations, Mr. Kell. Next is Mr. Patrick Lyons. Our valedictorian is not here. He is probably studying. Patrick is the son of Joan and Robert Lyons. He attended Kent and Blaylock Middle School. Patrick is a senior exec vice president and co-captain of the Wranglers. This year, Patrick placed third in the state in original oratory with the speech team. And Patrick will be attending the University of Texas at Austin or Duke University, where he plans to major in engineering and minor in business. And one small little fact, he is our valedictorian, so congratulations to Patrick. Jessica is next. Jessica, are you here? Jessica is the daughter of Sin Suk Lee and Ji Woo She attended Kent and Blaylock, varsity tennis team captain, vice president of the National Honor Society, a student council executive officer, and president of the Creekview Martial Arts Club. She will be attending the United States Air Force Academy, study biology or chemistry with a focus on pre-med. Jessica, congratulations. Jennifer Wang, and I don't believe she's here tonight. Jennifer Wang is the daughter of Tiao Zhao and John Wang. She attended McCoy, Perry, and Blaylock Middle Schools. She is our wonderful senior class president and student body vice president and varsity volleyball captain. She plans to study engineering at either UC Berkeley, UCLA, or USC. Jennifer Wang, congratulations. The National Hispanic Recognition Program, conducted by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation, was established to identify outstanding Hispanic Latino high school students. This year, the program recognized nearly 5,000 of the highest scoring students in the USA and U.S. territories, over a pool of over 200,000. I am very pleased tonight to introduce the Creekview High School students who are being recognized tonight by the National Hispanic Recognition Program. Same routine. Parents, please stand. Students, when I call your name. Matthew Estrada Milliken. Matthew, I already introduced you, but he is also a National Merit finalist and a National Hispanic Scholar. Matthew. Next is Miss Savannah Flatt. Savannah? Savannah is the daughter of Christina and Darren Flatt. Savannah attended Rosemead and Blaylock. She serves as one of our student executive officers, and she plans to attend the University of Arkansas and call the hogs while she's majoring in mathematics. Savannah Flatt, congratulations. Next is Mr. Jacob Ruiz. Jacob is not here tonight, but he's the son of Fernando and Estela del Toro. He attended Davis and Blaylock. He's a member of our Creekview Leadership class, Creekview Band Leadership team. He'll be going to Baylor, studying mechanical engineering and aviation sciences. Jacob, this is for you. Next name is Kennedy Zapata Sliker. Kennedy, are you here tonight? No, not here. Kennedy is the daughter of John and Sylvia Sliker. She attended Rainwater and Blaylock. Kennedy is a member of our National Honor Society and president of the Japanese National Honor Society. She's a member of the Key Club, Academic Decathlon, and Japan Bowl. She plans to attend UTD and earn a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a master's in Japanese. Kennedy. Last but not least is Miss Jessica Zavala. Jessica? Jessica is the daughter of Luisa and Candelario Zavala. She attended McCoy and Dan F. Long Middle School. Jessica is the page editor of Creekview's outstanding main event newspaper and the section editor for the Trail Dust Yearbook. Jessica also was a Dallas Morning News Journalism Day finalist recently. She plans to be a Longhorn and go to the University of Texas at Austin and major in English. Jessica Zavala. We are very, very proud of each of you and your awesome accomplishments. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, congratulations to you. I know you're very, very proud. Please help me give them one more round of applause.
Our next recognition tonight is from the Texas School Public Relations Association, and it's the President's Award recipient. One of the values in this district is community service. Not only do our students serve our community, but our staff does as well. Tonight, we will honor our Strategic Communications Department for their efforts to help the public school community in Oklahoma. Presenting the award will be leaders from the Texas Public Relations Association.
Good evening. Thank you, board members and members of the general public who are with us tonight. It's an honor to be here. My name is Julie Zwar. I'm the Director of Communications for the Little Elm Independent School District up the road, and I also serve as the South Central Vice President for the National School Public Relations Association, so it's an honor to be here. I want to, if you'll indulge me just for a few minutes, I want to share a little bit about the award tonight for Ms. Shelley. We now know that on May 20th, exactly almost a year ago today, that an EF5 tornado hit Moore, Oklahoma, killing 24, 7 of them current third graders at Plaza Towers Elementary School in the Moore Public School System. That afternoon, the district altogether lost 9 lives, 7 students on campus, 1 pre-K student who was at home, and 1 teacher who was killed with her 4-month-old baby. What sets this tragedy apart from other storms is this is the first time in generations that students were killed by a tornado during school hours. Before that day on May 20th, the district's focus was on graduation ceremonies, a reception for a retiring superintendent, Dr. Susie Pierce, and other end-of-the-year activities. And then the storm struck, and that focus dramatically shifted to saving lives, reuniting families, and communicating with the media and the public. That night I was at a board meeting, and I learned that Moore Public Schools, the 3rd largest school system in Oklahoma, does not have a communications professional on staff. So I put out a call to my colleagues for support across Texas, knowing that the local Oklahoma communications professional group would be exhausted by that weekend from the frantic pace and demand. Several people from the North Texas area volunteered to come. Angela Shelley from Carrollton-Farmers branch was one of them. Also with me tonight is Tamara Ringo from Coppell ISD, and Julie Thanum from South Lake Carroll ISD accompanied me. We spent 4 days in Moore, Oklahoma. Our team assisted with 3 highly emotional graduation ceremonies covered by 43 media outlets from around the world. Local and national reporters wanted to interview graduates, families, and those who had suffered losses that week. From a desolate library in Moore High School, we prepared statements for the superintendent for press briefings. We coordinated her daily messages and crafted a framework of messaging, and everything we produced would center around 4 key themes for Moore Public Schools: hope, resilience, heroism, and moving the district forward. While we worked those 4 days, the administrators grieved with their staff and students at 8 funerals and 3 graduations. Our role was to stay out front and anticipate for Dr. Pierce and Assistant Superintendent Robert Rawmine's needs, and as you may imagine, there were many needs that weekend. National media began a very large debate about safe rooms in schools, student safety, and prayer during the storm. From the visit by President Barack Obama that weekend to a live televised memorial service led by the governor of Oklahoma, we worked to keep the messaging simple and focused. And so tonight I'm here to present one of our volunteers who is a key member from Texas, your very own Angela Shelley, for her assistance during those days. Angela was one of the first people to return my call to assist. And as you know from your daily interaction with Angela, she is a true professional and has a passion for public education. So recently at the Texas School Public Relations Association Conference, our president, Patty Pollock Perales, presented us with the President's Award. It has only been given one time in our organization's history and has not been awarded in more than 10 years until this year. So tonight, I'd like to congratulate Angela for her work and outstanding efforts in helping us and more public schools face this very serious tragedy. And just to remind you, just a strong relationship that we build in the calm that will help us weather the storms in our future. Thank you.
Mr. Good, if you would permit me, we do have one more recognition tonight. I think it's important for this community to know and this public to know that the board members sitting up here in front of you are committed and dedicated to their job of providing governance and guidance to this school district. And as you heard earlier, they have met and exceeded all their training hours as required by the state of Texas for Board of Trustees. But in addition to that, this board participates in an area association, happens to be called the North Texas Area Association of School Boards. You can't say that real fast, you gotta slow down. But they participate in that strictly on a volunteer basis. They're not required to do that, but they do. There are 4 meetings a year. They commit to go to those extra meetings to, again, continue to their growth as board members. But I have to recognize this board tonight because they have, for the second year in a row, been awarded the board with the highest percentage of attendance at those meetings. So that deserves recognition. And not to brag, because you know, as Bear Bryant said, it's not bragging if it's true. They've also won it the last 3 out of the 4 years. They've had the highest attendance at those meetings. And those meetings are not local always. So we have been to Mansfield, we've been to Keller, we've been to pretty much all over this Region 10, Region 11 area. But it says a tremendous amount about your trustees and their commitment to this school district. So thank you, and it's been a great night. Mr. Good, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. This period of time is one of the great pleasures of being on the school board, where we're able to recognize educators who do unbelievable work with our students that we sometimes forget about. And so it's a great thrill to be able to thank our educators for the exceptional things they do in the classroom. And it's rather unusual, especially when we have someone who is 3 generations in our school system. So I guess we're going to go for 4. Yeah. And,
No pressure.
And for our students, we are just honored to be able to once again say thank you. Many of you we've already seen at breakfast sometime this week, and it's been a thrill to be able to share this once again. But at this time, especially, that we better understand and appreciate your accomplishments. And we've had discussions at different times as people criticize public education, and we're not turning out qualified, educated students. But I beg to differ. I think we are turning out exceptional academic achievers. And what that really means to many of us, as I look at some people in the audience, we truly do look toward the future. And for others of us, we also look forward to the opportunity of retirement, knowing that we have exceptional leaders coming up. And we are truly honored to be able to say thank you to all of you students who are here this evening. Miss Shelley, where did you go? She disappeared. Well, we'll go ahead and talk about her since she's hiding. But this is an example of what it is to believe as a person in our school district what it means to serve, whether it be to serve here locally in CFB or to serve at a greater level throughout the state. And I'm thrilled that we had this opportunity to say thank you to Ms. Shelley for what she has done and to represent this entire school district at the national level. It is truly an honor to say, Angela, we thank you. I know that you would love to stay with us for the entire evening. However, being that there are many educators and students, which means you either have classes to prepare for, whether you be the educator or the student, so we are going to take a recess for about 10 minutes and allow our honored guests to leave. At this time, we will recess. 8:13 p.m. and we'll move on. Correction. Prior to going to agenda item 3, report by the superintendent, I'd like to remind people in the audience they have the opportunity to provide comments to this board at a later agenda item, which is audience for guests. Anyone wishing to speak to the board may do so either as an individual or as a representative of a group. All you should do is fill out the form that's right beside the doors as you walked in and give those to Ms. Scrivener. And when we get to that item on our agenda, you'll have the opportunity to speak. At this time, we'll move to agenda item 3, report by superintendent. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Members of the board, tonight we bring you our one of our annual reports, and that's on our career in technical education. And all of you know Ms. Gillen very well. And we talk about all of our accolades and our recognitions, but CTE is no different. We continue to be one of the leading districts in terms of career education, and we're very proud of what we do there. And we get to show it off a little bit tonight, but also there's always areas for us to improve in. So I won't say any more. I'll turn it over to Ms. Warnock to formally introduce tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Mr. Good, members of the board, it is certainly our pleasure tonight to share a little bit about what we're doing in CFB to prepare our students for the workforce. When we talk about workforce readiness, we really are talking about college readiness as students going to attend college are preparing to enter the workforce at some point. We have 19 certification programs that are national or state programs that allow students to enter the workforce with a certification immediately after graduating from our high schools. Those are just a couple of the things that we want to highlight this evening. And we're going to turn it over to Ms. Jo Gillen, who is our Executive Director of CTE Counseling and Nurses. And she will share with us and really spotlight on some of our programs that we celebrate in the district. Ms. Gillen?
Thank you, Ms. Warnock. Good evening, Dr. Burns, Mr. Good, and esteemed members of the board. Tonight, I would like to provide you with some highlights from our career and technical education programs in CFB. But first, I would like to recognize my team, Michelle Kapner, Steve Ann Smith, and Katie Tilton. The work could not be done without them. And also, 4 of our FFA members are present tonight, as you can tell by their jackets, and our wonderful teacher, Shannon Miller from RL. In the spring of 2012, I reported to the board the Pathways to Prosperity project from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. To set the tone for this evening's presentation, I would now like to read a quote from that report by William Simons. In the U.S., our goal should be to assist every young adult beginning at the end of middle school, to develop an individualized pathway plan that would include career objectives, a program of study, degree, and/or certificate objectives, and work-linked learning experiences. That's William Simons, author of Pathways to Prosperity. In CFB ISD, our 5 academy programs provide unique opportunities for students to obtain both the academic knowledge and skills needed to be successful in their post-secondary pursuits. Tonight, we will review 5 academies as well as a few additional CTE programs which support these goals. House Bill 5, which was finalized in February 2014, provided the directive for 8th grade students to select a specific endorsement area beginning the fall of 2014. This furthers the initiative for all students to have a clear pathway of study that prepares them for post-secondary education and/or the world of work. House Bill 5 focuses upon 3 specific areas which further promote career and technical education. Personal graduation plans are developed for all students in the 8th grade. Students select one of 5 endorsement areas to focus their coursework in a specific area of study. The 5 endorsement areas include business and industry, public services, STEM, arts and humanities, and multidisciplinary studies. One other area that highlights achievement is through the performance acknowledgments. Students that earn certifications, licensures, or dual credit will receive additional recognition. I would now like to share a quote from Texas Senator Dan Patrick, who was a strong proponent of House Bill 5. "I encourage all students to attend college, but if they choose not to, I want them to be prepared to earn a great living in a challenging profession. I believe that students will step up if they are challenged in areas that interest them." In CFB, the goal is high achievement for all students. With that, the ultimate goal is for every student to graduate from high school. Our 4-year graduation rate continues to increase each year. As you can see, in 2007, the rate was 80.4%. And in our most recent data, from 2012, our graduation rate was 91%. At this time, we have 1,070 students participating in our 5 academies. I would like to shed some light on these academies currently offered, along with a few other programs in CTE. These programs not only enable students to choose a career area of focus, but also provide the opportunity for the acquisition of real-world knowledge and skills. The 5 academy programs currently offered in CFB are Biomed, the Academy of Biomedical Professions; AMAT, the Academy for Media Arts and Technology; METSA, the Math, Engineering, Technology, and Science Academy; IBA, the International Business Academy; and the Law and Criminal Justice Academy. As noted by their names, each academy program focuses on a specialized area of study. The academies visit each middle school in the fall to educate 8th grade students about their program offerings. The 8th graders then apply to participate in the programs upon entering high school in the 9th grade. Each academy program lasts throughout the students' 4 years of high school. Students take their required courses in the general school population, but then also take specialized academy courses as 2 or more of their electives throughout their high school career. The Academy of Biomedical Professions combines classroom and laboratory experiences along with research and field study opportunities which involve clinical rotations and mentoring. Students can earn a variety of certifications, including Emergency Medical Technician, EMT, First Aid and CPR, Certified Nursing Assistant, CNA, Pharmacy Tech Certification, and Veterinary Medical Assistant Certification. This year, Biomed has 250 individuals participating in the program. Students are placed in 1-year clinical internships that provide a real-world setting which complements their field of interest. Many of our students also participate in HOSA, a national organization for future health professionals. And now I would like to share a testimonial from former biomed graduate DJ, who is currently working in the medical field. My senior year at R.L. Turner, I enrolled in Amy Parker's EMT course. You can get an EMT certification in as little as a month. At Turner, Ms. Parker had us the entire year. We were pushed to know much more than your typical EMT should know. We were held to a higher standard. A requirement to complete the course was to spend many clinical hours riding as students on an ambulance with the local fire departments, gain real-world experience, and learning from our hometown paramedics. This, too, was a great experience, and I loved every minute of it. While attending Texas A&M, I began to volunteer on the campus ambulance. I couldn't resist the urge to continue working in the pre-hospital environment I was exposed to in high school. I went on to fire school, was hired by the city of Bryan, and was sent to paramedic school. Because of the foundation and excellent education given to me at R.L. Turner, paramedic school was a breeze. Once on the street, I was good at it too. Before I ever spent 1 second in paramedic school, I had already been exposed to most of the things I needed to learn. Biology, chemistry, anatomy, and physiology, and all the health and science technology classes at Turner made my job easy. Through the years, I was promoted through the ranks up to the EMS supervisor for the city, then was hired by PHI Air Medical as a flight paramedic, the pinnacle of any paramedic's career. Clearly, the academy shaped my life in immeasurable ways. 4 years of prep and exposure to the medical field while still in high school made the path to who I am today. The Academy for Media Arts and Technology is for students interested in areas of business technology, computer science, digital graphic arts, journalism, and media arts. These students have the opportunity to earn their Adobe certification. The Academy facilities consist of an on-site television studio, radio station, and Mac lab. Field trips include outings to CBS Radio, the Dallas Morning News, and the Sundance Film Festival. AMAT currently has an enrollment of 201. Please listen as I read from an AMAT graduate's testimonial to the opportunities that the Academy provided. Nothing puts a person's creative abilities to the test more than being thrown into a team. Am I a good collaborator? Can I think on the fly? What are my true strengths and weaknesses? What AMAT did for me is accelerate my journey toward answering those questions. When it comes to filmmaking, it takes a team with both polish and great sense of innovation to pull off the project. So when you look at the ending credits of a movie, do you see a few names repeated over and over? No, you see hundreds of names rolling by, each bringing their own polished and innovative brainpower. My experiences in AMAT rolled over seamlessly into college projects made up of 40-plus kids. This then carried over to my professional life, working with full-size crews on the streets of New York. I can honestly say AMAT has contributed to my success in the short time I've been in the film industry. I'm proud to say that I've done work with Miss Universe and some famous New York photographers. I won first place in the Heartland Film Festival for my piece entitled Clay. And I've made many film clips in advertisements, including one Super Bowl commercial, GQ magazine in Portugal, and the Ford Modeling Agency. In addition, I am working as a full-time employee for Fresh Inc., a local marketing agency. Thank you, AMAT, and thank you, CFB. John Gordon. METSA is designed for students interested in engineering and technology with a hands-on approach to learning, which allows students to investigate and experience practical problem solving. In this program, students are asked to design projects for a myriad of competitions. Some examples include remote control cars in fast track racing, the National Construction Challenge, where students compete, solve, and design service tech challenges, and Bot Ball, introduced in the 8th grade, which offers a hands-on learning experience in robotics. In addition, the Academy also offers several field-based experiences, such as shadowing, field trips, internships. Currently, there are 296 students enrolled in METSA. Please join me in viewing a video testimonial from Cindy Ortega, a METSA graduate, regarding her experiences in the program.
So when I came to Turner, I decided to join the METSA Academy. I came in as a really quiet person, and throughout the school year, throughout the semesters, I ended up getting out of my shell, learning a lot of different skills that I could apply not only to the projects here in the Academy, but also to the real-world scenarios. I am now a junior at Southern Methodist University, and I am in the engineering school, majoring in civil engineering and math. And everything that I've learned here at the Academy, not only have I been able to apply it to what I'm learning in the classes, what I've been able to do in my internships, I think all those skills have really been able to help me grow as a person, have been able to allow me to build the connections that I need, not only with students, but with professionals. I've been able to come back, receive the same support from the teachers here, and continue strong as I go through my university career.
Students in the International Business Academy receive a foundation in marketing, economics, finance, language, and the cultural aspects of international business. Additionally, IBA students gain real-world experiences of domestic and international travel. For example, this year's juniors and sophomores traveled to San Francisco, California in the fall, and this year's seniors just visited the European Mediterranean coast in March. IBA students also have internships and partnerships with business, industry, and post-secondary education. The current enrollment for the IBA program is 162. I will now share a testimonial from former IBA graduate Alexa. My experience in the IBA was from 2005 to 2009. I personally believe that it has been and still remains today a tool that has allowed me to get to where I am. If it had not been for the inclusion of the dual credit classes in the IBA curriculum, I feel as though I would have not been prepared for the many challenges that college brings. Being given the opportunity to attend Brookhaven College, gain insight into what college courses consisted of, the workload required, and the type of setting that I would be submerged in, set me up for success upon entering the University of Oklahoma. Secondly, the opportunities to tour various locations and take a trip to Europe were also beneficial to providing me with a well-rounded background. I cannot say enough about how awesome the CFB IBA Academy's rigor and curriculum are essential to a student's success as they continue their academic careers beyond high school. Alexa is currently attending law school at Loyola University in New Orleans. The Law and Criminal Justice Academy is for students interested in careers in law, investigation and enforcement, forensic science, and government service. The Academy facilities feature an on-site courtroom for mock trials, along with laboratory facilities for forensic testing and crime scene investigation. This year, our Law and Criminal Justice Academy mock trial team placed first at the state competition. Currently, there are a total of 161 students enrolled in this academy. Former Law and Criminal Justice Academy graduate Jennifer Chacon had this to say about her experience and how it impacted her college and career path. My name is Jennifer Chacon, and I am a 2010 graduate of Creekview High School's Law and Criminal Justice Academy. I am now studying finance at Southern Methodist University with future plans to attend law school. The two greatest benefits that I received as a member of the Law and Criminal Justice Academy were related to my involvement in the mock trial and the speech and debate programs. I learned a lot through those experiences that I have carried forward to college and other professional environments. During my senior year, we were in the championship round and took second place in the state. I largely attribute this success to the incredible dedication of our coach, Peter Myers, who always went above the call of duty to make sure we were prepared and confident about our work. This dedication has carried forward to continue the excellent tradition at Creekview Mock Trial Program has had for years. I was also a member of the Creekview Speech and Debate team for 4 years and had an incredibly dedicated coach, Alicia Dunson, who taught me everything that I know about public speaking as well as presenting myself professionally. This, I believe, has set me apart from my peers. At the end of my senior year in high school, I received a scholarship and a summer job from a prestigious corporate law firm, an opportunity that I attribute directly to these experiences. If I had to pinpoint the greatest thing that the Law Academy provided me, I would say that it was the dedication of remarkable teachers and the ability to be a part of a program with an outstanding tradition of excellence. In addition to our academies, I would now like to feature several unique CTE programs available to our CFB students. We have a new accounting pathway that provides dual credit opportunities and certification upon graduation. Our cosmetology program requires a commitment by our students beginning in the 10th grade. It is a rigorous program that offers an opportunity to test for state licensure at the culmination of the program. The Culinary Arts program trains many students in the food service industry. Through our district's Cafe Smith, students gain real-world experience through cooking and serving meals in an on-campus cafe for CFB staff and community members. Our automotive programs are 2 out of 61 Texas high school programs that are accredited through the National Automotive Technicians Education Foundation, known as NATEF. Through this accreditation, students can earn 4 ASE certifications. It is a difficult task to achieve NATEF certification, and we are proud that our district has been able to attain this accreditation. Last year, our Automotive Collision and Repair program was awarded a $10,000 grant through the iCar Education Foundation. Also, 4 of our students competed at the state level in Skills USA and received a superior rating in their projects. Lastly, our welding program, which is new to the district, is National Center for Construction Education and Research, NCCER, accredited, whereby our students have the opportunity for certification. To sum up the benefits of the academies and programs provided within CFB, I have asked one of our academy graduates, Cynthia Rangel, to share her story. Not only has Cynthia demonstrated a commitment to complete her career aspirations, she has come back to CFB in order to assist current students in meeting their goals as well. Cynthia?
Thank you. Good evening, board members. As an 8th grade student at Vivian Field Middle School, I learned about the academy programs offered at R.L. Turner. I chose to apply to the Academy of Biomedical Professions and was accepted. Here I made some of my best friends. We had varied backgrounds and histories, but because of our similar interests, we were able to grow, develop, and learn together. During my first years in biomed, I developed a passion for the industry of human health and medicine. Due to this, during my junior year, I opted for the Certified Nursing Assistant course. This class was a mixture of lecture and hands-on training, which allowed for the application of learned skills in a clinical setting. At the time, the CNA program was partnered with Lake Village Nursing and Rehabilitation Center in Louisville, and that was the site at which we took our examination. After receiving my certification, I applied to Lake Village, and at the age of 16, had the unique experience of acquiring my first job in the health field as a CNA. During my year-long journey at the nursing home, I was able to implement my healthcare skills and familiarize myself with the professional environment. All the knowledge I had carried from my first years in biomed were finally paying off. A few months into my employment, I was faced with the sad truth. These people, to whom I was growing close, were towards the ends of their lives. Of course, I knew this. I learned about human development, disease, and death, but it had then become a reality, and I had a new outlook on my role in my residents' lives. That year of my life was the most humbling and rewarding. My final semester at Turner, I decided to explore new opportunities in the medical field. My schedule did not allow for clinical rotations, so I approached the Texas Oncology Department at the Medical City, Dallas, to inquire about a possible internship. After a few meetings with several office heads, and with parental consent, I became an intern in the blood laboratory. It was an amazing experience to see what happens behind the scenes. Patients that were in remission would come in for regular blood draws to ensure their cancer had not returned. I helped with CBCs, complete blood counts, and made blood slides to analyze for irregularities. It made my final months as a high school student incredibly memorable. In the fall of 2012, I returned to CFB and applied to become a tutor for the AVID program. I was excited to work at my old high school and was delighted to see that biomed was still going strong. In addition to the AVID program, over the past couple of years, I have also participated in the after-school tutorials, 9th grade initiative program, tax accelerated preparatory classes, STAR and EOC tutoring, and Plato Recovery Lab. In hindsight, I realized that the Academy of Biomedical Professions did more than teach me about health sciences. Being a part of a challenging program developed my work ethic and showed me the importance of dedication and perseverance. I attribute my continued thirst for knowledge to the opportunities made available to me during my years as a student in CFB. From the Gifted and Talented program, the Farmers Branch Chamber of Commerce Youth Leadership Program, the Biomed Academy, and wonderful AP teachers and coaches, there were so many people that influenced my life. And now I can finally give back to the next generations. I see myself in many of the students that I tutor today. They have such eager and curious minds, which need to be nurtured during this critical point of development in their lives. I have been delighted that a number of my students have chosen to keep me updated on their accomplishments. It brings such joy to me to see them at a university level preparing to take on the world. I am currently completing my Bachelor of Science in Biology at the University of Texas at Dallas. I will graduate in 2015 and will pursue a career in research, though medical school is still a possibility. Thank you all for your time here tonight.
In conclusion, we would like to share with you a collection of photos which feature our academies and programs of study we have discussed here tonight. Seeing our students excel and achieve makes us all very happy. Please feel free to sing along.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Just fine. Yeah. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gillen. I also want to thank our CTE team who are here tonight. Thank you to Ms. Miller and our students from FFA that are here. And thank you to Cynthia for sharing your story. We really appreciate that. You know, the goal of public education, its roots, was founded to instill a support in the survival of our democracy. And we see that through career and technical education, we support participation in our economy, participation in the community, support of the community, and the enduring of our democracy. It's a, very important part of our school district. We thank you for your work. That concludes our report.
Mr. Good?
Board members, this is your opportunity to ask Ms. Gillen questions. Ms. Watton.
I don't have any questions. I just think it's the Career Tech program is the most wonderful thing that we've ever established.
If I may, I'd like to make one comment, and then I have a question. And this is for Cynthia. I do remember you, Cynthia, when you were still a student here. And it's such a pleasure to see how we as a community, all of her achievements were not isolated achievements. The influences of the organizations, for example, she mentioned, it really speaks volumes about the influence that we as a collective body within the community of businesses and social service organizations and social clubs, chambers, whatever it may be, we really do have a strong influence upon our students at R.L. Turner and throughout our school district. And she is a fitting example of the success we have if we'll just take the time and get involved. So, Cynthia, thank you for being here. Now, my question, Ms. Gillen, you mentioned 6 CTE programs. Do you work with the business community to identify what we in the Metroplex need to provide to the business sector? Because I feel like there are 6 programs here, but I feel like the community and the business sector throughout our Metroplex area really has other needs that potentially that we as a school district could address. And I'm just curious about that.
Well, I think we address that through our advisory boards. We have several boards that meet for specific programs and/or academies. So we have many individuals from the business sector, also from the school district, local colleges that help us in terms of looking at what jobs are forthcoming and what skills do our students need, what do they see out in the world of work. And so we listen very closely to them, but I think they also glean quite a bit from us in learning how we are preparing our students.
Okay. If we wanted to add on an additional CTE program, I want to address the costs that may be associated with programs. When I look at our academies, I'm assuming there may be a higher level of cost to implement our academies. But when I look at CTE programs, I'm inclined to think the cost is not that great to implement. Can you give this board guidance on that when you look at the cost of these 2 types of programs?
Well, I would, in answer to that, and I thought about that a little bit today in preparation for questions, and welding, many of our ag programs, and they're costly. Supplies are costly. And so every year we visit specifically with every single CTE teacher to find out their needs for consumables, for supplies and things that they need, and also how they want to grow the program. And we make those decisions about how many students are in the classes, the certifications involved, but it is costly. CTE is a costly program. The tests, we pay for the students to take the tests, and those typically average about $60 for any certification test, and we have many students taking those tests. But we feel like the cost is absolutely worthy in terms of what our students leave high school with, the skills, such as what you heard tonight, and then many of the testimonials that I read. And that was just a handful. We had a huge response from students that had things to say about their certifications, licensures, and their graduation from the academies.
Mr. Good, if I could also add to that for our students who are in a coherent sequence of study in career and technical education, we do receive weighted funding from the state because of the additional expenses that are incurred. The state wants to support the career and technical education through that weighted funding. In addition, we receive federal funding through the Carl Perkins grant.
Yes.
That also helps to support. It is costly, but we do receive some additional revenue streams to assist with that.
Okay.
Yes.
By the same token, we are actually taking away funds from the universities and the local community colleges because we're making available programs here that normally, if we did not have them, they would have to pay for them at the local community college or at universities. Am I correct?
Well, Auto Tech is a perfect example because our local community college offers that program, and it is NATEF certified. But we offer this same exact program here with the online coursework and all of the tools and everything that they need. We have partnerships with many auto dealers, and our students have great success in earning that certification. And it is free to them, except for a little cost with some of the tools.
But do the students realize the opportunities that are made available to them through the high school programs that otherwise, in many locations, they don't have?
We do our best to really explain to them early. We do a lot of our recruiting and talking to students in the 8th grade so that they understand the commitment involved. For example, cosmetology. It's a huge commitment because there are many hours that the students have to log in, and then the tests at the end, the culmination of the program, are not easy. So our counselors, our teachers, many of us from central office spend a lot of time schooling the students on their commitment.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Board members, any other questions? Ms. Watt?
Joe and maybe Georgianne can explain, can you explain for the public how it's divided into 4 areas at Turner? And because my granddaughter is in the ACE division, which is, and I think they have, the academies are all divided into 4 areas, but she's in the pre-teaching area where she gets to do, as a junior, she's now doing internships over at Central Elementary. And so she knows exactly what, she's getting firsthand experience as in the teaching area. So in those 4 areas, could you explain a little bit more about how each academy is in the 4 areas, but there's other areas also available for the children?
At R.L. Turner, there are 4 small learning communities that students select which of those 4 small communities they would like to be a part of. ACES is Agriculture, Community Education Services, and that includes the Biomedical Academy is a part of ACES. So it is the cornerstone there. The agriculture program is a big piece there, as well as the pre-service teacher training. CHAMP is the College of Humanities, Arts, Media, and Performance, and AMAT is the cornerstone there, and that has our digital graphics, the media, yearbook, newspaper, those options for students are there. iLead is International Leaders, Entrepreneurs, Advertisers, and Designers, so that's our business programs, marketing, advertising. And ROTC is the cornerstone program there. And then finally, METSA, the Math, Engineering, Technology, Science Academy. And students have the option to choose from several engineering options, and the automotive programs are also a part of METSA. So the idea of workforce readiness and having students select an option at the entry of their high school career, and to say a child at 14 may not know what they want to do, but by the time they've walked through several options in high school, they may have figured out here's 4 pathways I don't wish to pursue. So at least then when I'm leaving, I know I've narrowed my scope. For some students coming in their freshman year that know exactly what they want to do, they're able to leave with a certification, 30 college hours, dual credit opportunities. So it really serves, all children in thinking about the future and workforce readiness.
Very good.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions?
Mr. Goodwin?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Gillen, we work really hard as a district to build strong relationships in the community. Is there anything or any way that we can pursue? And I know as a board, at our most recent North Texas Association meeting, we were talking about community partnerships. Is there any way that we as a board, we as a staff, whatever, can facilitate and do more to effectively build some partnerships in the community? Because it seems to me, for example, the automotive tech and some of those things, I would think that some of our business folks would be very interested in helping to fund some of this because it's a direct benefit to them. anything we can do that helps.
Yes, well, and I can address auto tech specifically. Ms. Smith held an advisory board meeting recently because we are going to be recertified for NATEF, so it's quite extensive. And we have several board members. How many, Steve Ann, on that committee? Right now, 11 different industry partners with just the auto tech piece. So, and they are more than willing to help. They want to provide donations, sometimes parts of cars, and also internships for our students. So really the advisory boards serve as a really excellent networking piece for our students and for those of us trying to help our students move forward.
And there's an advisory board then for each of the programs?
Yes, yes.
I can echo another example of support. A local engineering firm that donated vehicles to be transferred from gas power to solar power, alternatively fueled, to the high school. So there is a business partnership with a willingness to, donate and pitch in, and also provide human capital in terms of shadowing experiences and internships for our students.
I concur with Mr. Shackman. If I owned a welding supply company or a welding service company, bottom line, how many boys or girls, for that matter, in high school say, I want to be a welder?
Oh, I know.
Not very many.
Not many.
But if we provide them the opportunity and show them there's some money to be made in that profession, if I owned a company, I would bend over backwards to try to get as many of those involved. I would donate supplies. I would do whatever I needed to do to enhance that program. I think, boy, we got to tap those things. Yeah.
Absolutely. And welding, that's a great profession.
Yeah.
And you're right, it is so hard to go to a freshman and say, do you want to be a welder? Sometimes, well, what exactly would I be doing?
Yeah.
So in our current welding program, and it's very new, so it's, it has some growth, to be had in the next couple of years. But the students love making gates, barbecue grills, things like that gets them motivated to actually see the construction piece and the building piece that they can do later in industry for employment. So we've made some of those connections. I know last year specifically, Ms. Warnock met with, I can't think exactly his name, but he talked to our particular group and students, and they were very interested after that. And that's what it takes. It takes someone in the industry to really explain what they would be doing in that career field.
I think what's interesting is that as a board, we associate with other boards, especially through the North Texas Association of School Boards. And every once in a while, we hear a district that's so proud that they finally have a CTE program. And we've had one for quite a few years. And we've had the automotive and the FFA and the cosmetology at Turner since my children were going to school, and that's a long, long time. And so I think that we're definitely innovators in the CT program, and although districts don't want to admit it, we're the one that innovated the program, and they're copying, and they're actually, some of the districts are actually building buildings just for career tech.
Yes, they are.
Purposes.
Very expensive buildings.
Yes.
Well, we're very fortunate that we have, our senior leadership is very much a proponent of CTE, and the support we receive is just, it's wonderful. And we're constantly looking at ways to improve what other certifications we can offer. Currently, we are in discussion with Brookhaven Community College about medical coding, because that seems to be an area where there are a lot of jobs, and our students could leave high school with that certification and work in an office as they're going to college or pursuing whatever they are going to do after high school. So there's always constant activity in terms of what can we do next.
So we don't have a construction area, an academy or an interest in construction areas. Well, we used to build houses, and
yes.
So, and I know that a lot of the construction became technology, more technology orientated rather than, drilling and sawing and all the other things. But I know that there's a huge, huge demand for people that are skilled in construction.
Yes. We are looking at conversations with Northlake because they do have a construction program, but it's in the basic stages. But there are hopes to do something like that. It takes a lot of organization and discussions to get something like that started, but that is our hope, to do something like that soon.
Any other questions for Ms. Gillen? Ms. Gillen, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 3B, report on 2014-2015 budget. Dr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Before I hand it over to Mr. Hyatt, I want to kind of take us back in time. 10 months ago, we approved the 13-14 budget. And at that time, this board sent us on a mission. Start developing the 14-15 budget and allocating the resources to help us reach our goal. And one of the things that this board always does is focusing on achievement and being better, not necessarily being cheaper. It's easy for school districts to be cheaper. We can cut things, but you have to decide what's of value to you. And we believe education is the most important thing that we give to our students. We just heard it today. What more important thing for our kids to be able to be out of high school, out of college, out of the house, and a job? So our mission, aligned with what you heard today, was to allocate the right resources to make that happen within some parameters. As a good governance team does, you gave us parameters, you gave us the lines to stay within, and we think we've done that for you. We think we've put together a budget that allocates the right resources to the right areas, but stays within the parameters that this board gave us, and it invests in important things, two important things. That's our people and the technology and the tools necessary to make that goal happen. So those are my brief comments. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hyatt to present our 14-15 budget. Mr. Hyatt.
Thank you, Dr. Burns. Dr. Burns used the appropriate term in establishing the concept of parameters. Really what this board's role is and what we're asking you to help us with is really set the boundaries. What are the limits of our pain, if you will, as far as dealing with the budget. The state's dealt us a hand with school finance that has established limited resources without some efforts by the local community, and we're operating within those limits for our resources. Through a couple of work sessions over the last couple of years, the board has established some guidelines and parameters for us to work within, and we believe we've developed a budget for you tonight that continues along the same lines of those limits that you've previously discussed. Two items that are following this presentation relate to decisions we need to make if we want to go ahead and proceed early in the process of establishing compensation elements. We'll address those once Ms. Tillman's finished her presentation, but if you feel like the limits and the structure that Ms. Tillman's going to present to you within this budget presentation exceed the scope of your limits, that you feel like you've given us to work within, then we may need to delay those items later on the agenda. They're not independent of one another. We can't exceed the scope of what you've done unless you agree with the parameters we're presenting to you. So as Ms. Tillman presents this, we'll talk about the compensation issues later and how they affect what she's presenting. So Ms. Tillman, if you will.
Thank you. Before we talk about 14-15, we just wanted to remind you once again where we ended up in 12-13, which was very close to break even. We had a $408,000 deficit in the general fund. For 13-14, as a reminder, right now we're projecting that our deficit will be no higher than $7.1 million. And this does include the Phase 1 technology that was approved, that is in process right now throughout the district at our elementary campuses. And so right now, this is our estimate for this fiscal year. One of the questions that came up at the work study was about efforts that we've made in the prior year or the current year to reduce our budget and our operations. And so we wanted to just highlight a few things that have occurred over the past 5 years, with the major ones being the return of pre-K to half-day, the closing of 3 facilities and the consolidation of some of those facilities, and also the change in class sizes and the process of requesting waivers and adjusting secondary class sizes as well. In the current year, although we're not proposing any major program reductions, we wanted to show you that we have divisions throughout the district that are making efforts where there's opportunities to reduce our costs and improve our operating efficiencies. And these things are happening each year, but this is just some examples of things that are happening going into this year and into next year. So you can see we have everything from maintenance to technology to the accounting department to purchasing to HR and benefits and to campus staffs as well that are making efforts in their area to reduce their operations. And throughout the state, we know that districts are having to do more with less. And as board members, you all, of course, are interested in how well we're doing with our resources. And one way to look at that is from the Education Resource Group's measurement focus, which is referred to as the FPI. The way they measure is they break our expenditures into 4 categories, and then they forecast what is expected cost per student versus our actual cost. If we have a negative index in one area, then that indicates that we are operating efficiently and spent less than expected. In 2013 CFB results, we had a negative value in each of the 4 categories, meaning that in each category of expenditures that they measure, we operated efficiently and spent less than expected or according to their forecast model. If you look at the Financial Performance Index ranking over a 5-year period, you can see that we went from 64 to 40, which is just showing a trend that indicates that we have continued to make improvements in our operations and efficiencies. Noting that it's not our goal to continue to move this trend down. So our current 14-15 budget plans that we've shared with you is currently that we have no indications that we're going to have significant changes in enrollment. We've made limited adjustments to staffing levels, which does mean that we will have waivers next year. We do have compensation adjustments that we will discuss with you shortly in more detail. And we would like to continue our technology commitments, Phase 2, that was discussed in the work study as well. And we propose within our plan that we'll maintain a fund balance in excess of 100 days of operation. So for consideration for our 14-15 compensation plan, we would like to maintain our longevity pay with an estimated budget impact of $578,000. We would like to maintain our performance pay for an estimated $594,000 and provide a 3% general pay increase for all employees, or an estimated $3.9 million to our general fund. You can see below each item how many employees were impacted in 13-14 by the longevity and performance pay programs. With a 3% increase in our general pay, we would be able to adjust our beginning teacher pay from $47,143 to $48,242, which is approximately $1,099. Some of the challenges that we've had to keep in mind as we look at our compensation plan for next year is that this year we do not know what our TRS health insurance premiums are going to be for our staff, and probably won't know until well into the summer. And we also know that the TRS employee portion of their retirement payment will be going up, and so that's going to impact their pay as well. So we've had to keep those 2 things in mind as we've prepared this plan. Another question that was brought up at the work study was about what our neighboring districts were looking at doing for compensation for next year. And this is the information we've been able to gather so far with districts that we're willing to share. Irving ISD is actually the only district that the board has adopted and they have approved a 3% pay increase for their professionals, 4% for paraprofessionals, and a minimum of $1,800 for their teachers. Other districts are proposing within the 1% to 3% range, with more closer to the 3%. In addition to the compensation adjustments, the other major change in our budget would be for Phase 2 of technology, which was largely made up of elementary labs as well as mobile devices throughout the district. So in looking at our 13-14 adopted budget and compared to our current 14-15 estimate, right now with the raise and with technology, we are looking at a worst-case scenario right now of a $15.9 million deficit, targeting no more than 12.7 as realized, knowing that right now our revenue estimate is very conservative and we'll have our final values in July so that we'll be able to finish that piece of the budget. So we feel comfortable that this number will go down at the point that we're ready for adoption. We've also have had to include on both the revenue and expenditure side a new TRS tax that we will be paying. Year one, we're receiving funds from the state, approximately $1.6 million, but after 14-15, the district will have to pick that up. So part of the increase on both sides is included in these figures. We can look at our expenditures broken down in many different ways. This is one way to look at it in terms of significant expenditures within our budget. 92% of our budget can be identified within 13 categories. So you can see that our big drivers, of course, in the general fund are our payroll, our tax increment finance payment, which is obviously driven by the values largely in the Irving area right now, our technology Phase 2, utilities, and student transportation. Our payroll is actually, on the general fund, a little over 74% of our budget. If you take out the TIF payment, which sort of skews the numbers, it would be more like 80%. Another way to look at our expenditures is by function, and this more aligns with how the Education Resource Group looks at our expenditures when they're determining the variances. So as you look at one of the categories is instructional, and that's one of their categories. Instructional school leadership, that's a second category. A third category is support services with students. And then they combine administrative and support, functions 40 and 50, into one category. That's what they call non-student support. And then these three categories are not included within ERG, which is largely our TIF payment. So of course, instruction is our biggest category, followed by support services and student leadership. Using our worst case scenario, our very conservative estimates for 13-14 and 14-15, this would put us at a fund balance of 107 days in operation at August 31, 2015. One of the questions that we've discussed with you as a board many times, and then most recently when we talked about what's your number, we have a range, and some of us have a lower comfort level than others, but everyone...
Tolerance.
Yes. But everyone was in agreement that if we maintained at least 100 days or more, that was still a level that we were comfortable with. And so this amount is actually above that comfort level for all parties that were evaluating this.
Some higher than others.
Yes.
Looking at
And although we're comfortable with this level, the caution that we have is that this would be a rapid depletion in our operations, and we just make sure that we enter into this with caution, knowing that this is not something that we can continue, that we will have to take action in the near future. And that near future would not be far away. This is without taking any action and not providing any raises. We could be at a 41% reduction, which would take us below 90 days to 82 which is below the comfort level of many of us. And this does show why we are proceeding with caution, because it would be a rapid decline if we took no action.
Just to reiterate Ms. Tillman's point, the 2016 and beyond illustrations would be in a relatively stringent environment. The presumption is, once we get into this level, if we don't identify some alternative method to address our budget issues, we can no longer afford to do significant things, particularly compensation adjustments, and we would still continue a downward trend. So as Ms. Tillman's appropriately doing is preparing the board to understand that while this year we're in good, sound financial condition to address our budget with the resources we have, we'll need to continue the dialogue with the board as to what our future resources and future methods to address the budget issues.
And we would have many things, of course, happening for the 15-16 year. We still, of course, have the pending lawsuit, and we don't know what the outcome of that will be, as well as this would be a legislative year, so we would be substantially complete with our budget process at the time, more than likely, that the session would end and we would really know our funding. So it's going to be a year of uncertainty coupled with potentially us getting around our 90-day mark.
If I can add to Ms. Tillman and Mr. Hyatt's comments, this wasn't an easy mission, but we feel like we stayed within the guidelines you gave us. We realized that 15-16 is even a more difficult mission, but we're prepared. Like any good special ops team, we're going to come back. We'll get ready for material for you next year in work studies so that we can address the numbers that Ms. Tillman has up there for 15-16, because we do have some decisions to make regarding what we do with our resources and how we get more resources. And as Ms. Tillman said, we do have a variable out there we don't control, which is the courts as well as the legislature. But we're on a mission for high achievement, and so we know that this board expects that of us, and so we are committed to finding that and using these resources we have to accomplish that mission. And we're focused on being better, not being cheaper.
And so this evening, for your consideration, we do have the 3% pay increase on the agenda for potential board action. There's also a resolution to adopt the performance pay and the longevity pay. We would come back in June with an item for you to consider the time, place, and location of our public meeting to discuss and adopt the budget and tax rate. If the board would like additional information or input on the budget prior to August, we would need to have that discussion and those requests this evening so that we could bring those back to you in June, because we won't have another opportunity in between now and August because there's no board meetings currently scheduled in July. So we do need that input this evening. In July, we also is when we will receive our final certified tax values, which allows us to complete the budget process and finalize our estimates. August, of course, we would then come back with our final adoption process. And that
Could you
completes our
give us
information.
the total amount of what the 3% pay increase would be, and also the performance pay?
The total, the budget impact?
Yes.
It's $3.9 million for the raise, and the performance pay is just under $600,000.
How much?
Just under $600,000.
And Ms. Tillman, that is for every employee, though, that was eligible under the criteria. So they were here
Yes.
in 12-13. We met our goal, which is our first one is to be in the top 20 or top 10%, and we have a different level of performance pay for being in the top 5% or top 10. But that's for every employee, regardless of their position in our district, they get that performance pay.
Dr. Burns, was that the completion of the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Board members, questions? I noticed many of you were taking notes, so I'm wanting to see if any of those are now being converted to questions. Mr. Shore.
Well, first, this is not a question, it's a statement. Here's the scientific method that I know that this budget is not bad. I've been studying Mr. Hyatt's hair, and it's not the same color as mine. So I know this is not a bad budget, okay?
But it's closer to your color than it was a year ago.
It's still not there.
15 to 16, it'll be really white.
But I do have some questions. And Dr. Burns, this may have to go to Ms. Warnock, but I'm going to pose it to you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any data on whether by requesting the waivers that we're negatively impacting upon our goal?
Mr. Shore, you ask great questions. I'll give you the big kind of overview of that, and I'll let Ms. Warnock add to it. And that, yeah, we think any time you're having to raise class sizes, it's going to be an impact on us, absolutely. And we think that that's one of the biggest things that the state has done to school districts is you've required, by the nature of those cuts, for them to do that. And so, yes. However, have we put in things to help mitigate that and help prevent that from being devastating to us? Yes. We've got a lot of infrastructures in place. But, yeah, we'd like for it to be lower, absolutely. Ms. Warnock, you want to add anything to that?
No, I just agree with what you said.
Okay. And it kind of seems obvious that if you're going to have more students with one teacher, the academic performance that's achieved, most likely than not, is not going to be enhanced, okay?
Not as much as it could be. I agree with it. As much as it could be.
Okay. What we heard about Ms. Shelley today, in my opinion, is an example of what every employee of this district does, okay? We applaud her, but I don't doubt that there are hundreds of employees here who we could present at every board meeting. I'm not trying to add to the burden, but it would be of interest if we had data, and candidly, I'm not certain I know how you get this, of whether by having these waivers, it's causing us to move in a direction we don't like with ERG on API. Because if the waivers, and candidly, I've been unaware of any waiver that hasn't been granted.
Correct.
Since we've asked for them, okay?
That's right.
And so I suggest that that's a concession, that's an admission by the state, that we have tied your hands behind your back, and so this is the best we're going to do for you. But I think that our community doesn't want to do anything that impacts negatively on us achieving our goal. And if we, without trying to unduly add to the burden of work, if we have some data on, hey, the waivers are causing us to move in a direction we don't like, that would be of note.
Yep. Mr. Shore, you hit it right on the bullseye. You know, that's the challenge that school districts have, is that they're expecting us to do more with less. You know, the state didn't let up on the rigor of academic measurements, and they shouldn't have, but they did reduce our resources. And so we rely heavily on our teachers and our principals to say, you know, when enough is enough, and they've got too many in that classroom, so we have to make some strategic decisions with it. But there are some efficiency decisions with it, too, that make some sense. So I believe that a waiver is a good tool for districts to be more efficient, but I don't believe in the long run that we would use or abuse that privilege in lieu of achievement. In other words, if we don't think that, if we think 24 is too many, we're going to change it whether there's a waiver or not. We're going to fix that and make sure that teacher has the right resources and the right number of kids in there. So, because that, our goal is the achievement piece, and the waiver is just an efficiency mechanism. It's certainly not going to drive us beyond the right decisions for achievement.
A few more questions, and I'm directing them to you, but these may go to Mr. Hyatt. Okay. Dietz ruled that the funding mechanism was unconstitutional. Because the legislature met, he reopened the trial to receive more evidence, okay? Do we have, and we're not a party to that lawsuit, but we're going to derive the benefit of whatever he rules. And when I say benefit, that kind of a projection as to what he's going to do. Does anybody give you any rumors as to when he may issue his decision?
I have heard nothing since the February discussion.
It's been spring is about the definition, sometime in
Okay.
the spring.
Okay, well, he has the knowledge that everybody in the state is relying upon his decision. And that will be appealed directly to the Supreme Court. It doesn't go through the intermediate courts.
That's the plan.
And the Supreme Court would probably take 8 months.
October, I think, is the best case.
They'd take 8 months from when they got it
Yeah.
to come out with their decision. Assuming that the Supreme Court makes a decision in the spring of 2015, okay? We're at 107 days, way over what most people think is necessary to be in your fund balance. Would you not agree with that statement? Okay, well, I know you want it to be 250 days, okay? But that's way, way, way over.
I think it's definitely adequate.
Okay, that's a pretty strong concession coming from the
I thought so.
Scrooge. Okay, so in the spring, if we get a decision in the spring of 2015 from the Supreme Court, we're still going to be above what most reasonable people think needs to be in your fund balance of 60 to 90 days.
For 14-15, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. My last question then, okay. Has there been any effort expended on what the budget would look like if we're going to start a bilingual program in 1 or 2 primary schools, 2015?
Yeah, I'm going to let Ms. Warnock kind of approach that. And the answer is yes. You know, we're going to have to start small simply because of the constraints of it. But we clearly heard the board and our community that that's important, that that's going to help our kids have a huge advantage in the future. And so we'll start putting together the details of that to see what it looks like. But Ms. Warnock may have a little bit more fine grain than that, I'm not sure.
Sure. We have campuses that we would consider low-hanging fruit right now, campuses that we have a one-way bilingual program with a large number of monolingual students currently attending that program. So conversion in a two-way dual program would not be an increased cost at those campuses. It would just be some increased professional development and training of those teachers to transition from a one-way to a two-way dual program. So incrementally over time, that could be expanded at several campuses without a significant increased cost.
At the risk of being anal, let me paraphrase what I just heard.
Okay.
That we can expand the bilingual program for students in this district and not really change the budget that's being presented right now.
The beginning steps of changing and adding programming would not have a budget impact.
Negative budget.
Negative budget impact for, the initial phases of adding.
Yeah, Mr. Shore, I think you said that very well. But what we want to be clear with is that means we would be starting very small and very slow with it. It wouldn't be something that we could do as
Does a drop of
fast.
rain?
That's exactly right. That's a good reason. We'll start slow, given the constraints we have, but we think we can do it within that budget. Along with being fit. We are not forgetting about that we have a strong emphasis on we want kids to be healthier physically, and we know their brain will be mentally healthy as well. And so that's still an initiative, and that will have some cost associated with, again, but growing it slow.
Mr. Shore? Is that
That's
it?
not enough?
No, I just want to know if that was your final question. For now. Very good, thank you. Board members, other questions? Mr. Shackman.
Tillman, is there a sense, we see some terrific things that have been done in reduction and paring back and scaling back in various ways. What areas of our budget have grown in the last 2 years?
Compensation.
Yeah, in addition to compensation.
Transportation has been one. We're with Dallas County Schools, and so we've had some increases there. Of course, they they work diligently to control their costs as well, but pretty much the districts that they serve cover their operations. So that's been one area, and support services we have some growth there.
What all is support services?
It's anything from our, starts with food service, transportation, counseling, speech pathologists. It's all campus support that's dealing with students, but not necessarily directly in the classroom and teaching situation. So,
Is there anything we think we can do to help with any of those areas? I know, for example, they're saying food services. I think that was an area in our budget where we actually had it cost us more than we were able to bring in, and that's getting worse because of some of the mandates that are coming, particularly out of D.C., and less options and all that. Is there anything that we are aware of that we can do that will help us in any of those areas?
we actually met this week with Ms. Sharon. I believe she's here this evening, and she and her staff have been working diligently this year and making changes wherever they can to save funds. And we're actually projecting much better results this year right now. She could give you more examples, but the one I'm aware of, just because of my daughter, when I drop her off, we've quit serving bottled water, and now they put out the jug of water, and I think that saved around $200,000. So just with that one change. And so she and her staff have been working very hard at monitoring the budget. They've monitored the scheduling of their staff and made some adjustments there. Is there any other ones you want to add, major ones?
We just analyzed the menu and reduced food costs as much as possible. Still trying to provide high-quality service to the students, but eliminating any cost that's not absolutely necessary to get through this pattern of regulatory requirements and trying to get our system leveled out.
Good. Mr. Shackman, if I may just follow up a little bit, and I wasn't sure I got everything that Ms. Tillman said, but with the exception of their transportation costs, and to some degree that's beyond our control since we're at the, give them some credit. Our transportation costs are still significantly below our districts surrounding us because we are with Dallas County. But also because we're with Dallas County, if they have a cost increase they pass along to us, we don't have a lot that we can do to control that unless we want to reduce our route structure. So with the exception of transportation, virtually every other area of the district, we've either maintained or lowered our costs, with the exception of the most important thing, and that is academic support for our campuses. We've had additional coaches and additional campus academic support where we believe the best investment can be made for those students and to help those teachers do their jobs. So I didn't want to in any way overlook the fact that we do make investments where we think it's critically important for our campuses and our teachers.
Good. Okay. Mr. Shackman, any?
No, it's good.
Board members, any other questions? Ms. Klein.
How did you pick 3%?
What was the question?
How do we pick 3%? I'll let Mr. Hyatt give you the technical way, and then I'll tell you the non-technical way. But
probably momentum is the and maybe a better physics term is inertia rather than momentum, because we've been at around a 3% rate for the last couple of years, and we don't see a lot changing in the market and in the industry this year. We feel like
what were the last 2 years? It was 2.5 and what?
1.5.
Around 3.
Yeah, 1.5.
Well, I'm talking about surrounding districts around us. Not everybody was in the same fiscal constraints we were, so 3% has been about the average around us. So we're probably the last 2 or 3 years we've been on the middle to below average range for our raises. So we haven't been excessive at all, especially when you go back to the year we gave no raise. If you average that in, I think I can, without equivocation, say we've been below the average.
And the other way is we wanted to stay within the parameters. So 3% helped us stay within the guidelines you gave us.
Didn't we also take into consideration that there's going to be a TRS increase?
And that needed to be more than 2 or 2.5 to help offset that, yes.
Well, I'm trying to gauge if Mr. Hyatt feels like he's been pushed to the ledge by Mr. Shore, or if he's comfortable with his position.
We gave him a long rope.
I'm going to push him over before I'm done.
We've given him a long rope.
He's not, can you let him answer?
Again, I missed the question. What?
Do you feel like you're being
What's if I'm
pushed
bullying you?
to the edge or bullied by Mr. Shore?
I think the board has been incredibly candid, and I think the conversation of the budget with this board has frankly been better than any board I've worked with, and I've been with the district 30 years, and it seems kind of crazy. You guys are more candid with your thoughts, more open with your ideas, and more willing to accept and appreciate staff's ideas, and frankly, that's the right way. It's not one person's opinion or one person's decision. It's this collective body's decision based on our input and our suggestions. I know you hear my suggestions, you know my concerns and my constraints, you hear Ms. Tillman's, and you have to make your best decision based on that information.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt.
Board members, I think what I've heard,
5 feet from the
the
cliff?
rest of the board should be encouraged to ask as many abstract questions as Mr. Shore does. So think about that for future board
I don't
meetings.
think my questions are abstract.
Mr. Good, before we leave that, because we have some other agenda items coming, Mr. Wright, will you take a minute and clarify? In just a minute, we'll be talking about the compensation itself and the requirement under law for us to be able to provide the performance. Okay, so we just want
Yes,
for our
sir.
audience to have a little clarity around that.
Yes, sir. And we're trying to accomplish a couple of goals with the agenda, the way we have it structured tonight. You don't have to adopt any compensation issues tonight if you don't want to. A couple of years ago, actually more than a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, this board made the determination that if you could get to a comfort zone early in the process, you're not ready to adopt the budget in total yet, you know there's still information yet to come, especially with tax rates, but if you're comfortable enough, if we give you enough of a comfort level for you to go ahead and adopt the compensation elements of our budget package, that allows our human resources and payroll departments to prep those payroll and human resources schedules and the computer systems to set the raises and such, so that when you do adopt the budget late next August, our employees don't have to wait till November to get their raises. Historically, back again, years and years ago, if the board waited till August when you adopt the budget to authorize us to proceed with the compensation, it would take us at least a month to get to process all of that, and oftentimes into October or November before our employees actually got their raise, and we would retroactively pay them, but still they would have to wait, again, as late as November to see that. By the board getting to a comfort zone that they can adopt the compensation elements early, and we're asking for you to consider that tonight, that allows them to get their raises when their contracts start, and when they come back to school next August, their first paycheck after that, they'll see their raise in it.
And Mr. Wright, if I can add, that provides for our HR department a strategic advantage to be able to have that number available, so.
Right, and Dr. Burns' point is, we're out there trying to hire teachers right now. By adopting this compensation adjustment, we can adjust our new hire schedule and then offer our new teachers that we're trying to recruit a slightly higher salary, and there may be a few of them that makes a difference to, whether they go to work for us or go to work somewhere else. So that $1,000 change may make the difference in getting a teacher that we really want here. So that's those two elements, getting the raises rolled into our teachers' contracts and attracting additional teachers. The other two elements, the performance pay and the longevity pay, that requires the board to take by resolution direction to include that into the compensation package before you adopt the budget, because once you adopt the budget, you can't come back after the budget's adopted and after contracts are set with teachers and offer to pay them more. It's a little quirk in Texas law, but once a teacher agrees to a contract and you adopt a budget, you can't come back later and just gratuitously raise their salary, and that's what it's considered. So we believe it's important for you to go ahead and act on that well in advance of the budget adoption process.
Dr. Burns?
That concludes our report.
Very good. With that, we'll move on to Agenda Item 4, Board Operations, specifically Agenda Item A, which is Audience for Guests. As previously stated, this is an opportunity for our community and members here. If you would like to speak to the board, you have this opportunity. As previously stated, please fill out the form that's outside the front door and give it to Ms. Scrivener. At this time, Ms. Scrivener, do you have any additional audience for guests?
No, sir, only the one given earlier.
Very good, thank you.
Ms. Lewis has some handouts.
Okay, very good.
So this will go with hers.
Okay. Audience for guests pertains to public education issues, and we ask that our speaker speak no longer than 3 minutes. Our illustrious timekeeper, Mr. Frank Shore, will provide hand signals as you approach the end of your 3 minutes. When you come to to speak to us, please remember, we cannot discuss any items or issues that have not been previously posted on our agenda for tonight. So at this time, I would like to invite Ms. Rachel Lewis to the mic. Please introduce yourself, stating your address.
Give the handout.
Yes, it's coming, Mr. Short.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be one for each of you.
Yeah.
Everybody?
Ms. Lewis.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Lewis. I live at 2017 Deerfield Drive, Carrollton, Texas, 75007. I stand before you tonight asking for support of Senate Resolution 467, which supports civic education. The importance of education cannot be overstated. Without a good education, one cannot get a job, earn a good living, and provide for oneself and one's family. Education is the key to individual prosperity. I have asked that each one of you receive a copy of the Senate Resolution 427, and I won't read it to you. Well, we have quite a few people here, so I will read what it says. It says, expressing the sense of the Senate about the importance of effective civic education programs in schools in the United States. In the Senate of the United States, April 29, 2014, Mr. Cardin, for himself, and Mr. Gasly submitted the following resolution, which was considered and agreed to. Resolution expressing the sense of the Senate about the importance of effective civic education programs in schools in the United States. Whereas civic education is essential to the preservation and improvement of the constitutional government of the United States. I'm not going to read all of this because it would take up all my time.
And some.
Huh?
And some.
The important thing here is that our children are our future leaders. And I have some statistics here and some concerns about the state of civic education in America. The National Assessment of Student Progress, NAEP, test in civics found that about 2 out of every 3 students at grade 4, that's 73%.
30 seconds.
8 at 70%, 8th grade, 70%, and 12th grade, 66%, have at least a basic knowledge of civics. But when you look at proficiency, the situation seems grim. Just about 24% of students are considered proficient, 24% of 4th graders, 22% of 8th graders, and 27% of 12th graders. These students will become voters who have to make important decisions every election, but only about 24% have a proficient understanding of civics. That's a bit scary. Now, if we combine NAEP data with a recent American Enterprise Institute, which is AEI, study on what social studies teachers think and do, I found particularly interesting that 83% of these teachers say it is absolutely essential for high schools to teach students to identify the protections guaranteed by the Bill of Rights. Just 64% deem it absolutely essential for high schools to teach students to understand such concepts as federalism, separation of powers, and checks and balances, and consider how that plays out in student knowledge. NAEP found that only 5% of 12th graders could explain checks on the president's power.
I'm violating a civics rule because I've let you go way over 3 minutes.
Let me just do a little bit.
Ask them.
You, please continue.
Okay, we need to, thank you. We need to strike while the iron is hot. The reason I am bringing this resolution to your attention is because you are the gatekeepers that are in a position to make supportive policies and provide funding for civic education programs. And you are connected to champions who can help us make the case for greater policy support and funding for civic education. United we stand and are more effective. Please consider coordinating your efforts with like-minded friends, colleagues, and organizations to increase the probability those efforts will be effective. We appreciate, that is, the Center for Civic Education, appreciate your consideration for this request and hope that you will join us in our continued effort to gain greater policy support and funding for civic education at local, state, and national levels.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. And what we will do, we will refer this on to Dr. Burns so that we can take future action on this. Thank you very much. I believe there are no other audience for guests. We will therefore move on to agenda item 4B, which is our consent agenda. Board members, well, first to our audience, our consent agenda is a mechanism whereby we approve a number of typically routine items with a single vote. However, our board members have had an opportunity to review them, and at this time, board members, are there any of those consent agenda items you would like to remove?
Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hyde. Based on discussion with individual board members, I'd like to suggest we remove items 11, 12, and 14.
11, 12, and 14. Board members, are there any others?
And I believe 14, excuse me.
I think 14 was the one you wanted to.
Actually, it was 4E, I believe.
Yeah,
E's not, that's not on the consent.
That's not part of our consent agenda. We'll be there in a minute.
That's fine.
Very good. Board members, our consent agenda is comprised of 34 items with the exception of agenda of item 11, 12, and 14. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Short.
I move that we approve the consent agenda with the deletion of items 11, 12, and 14.
Second.
A second? I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Mr. Hyde, at this time.
Yes, sir. Item number 11 is consideration of matters of our one-time supplemental payments related to the budget that we just discussed. This is related to our supplemental pay for performance and longevity. Ms. Tillman, if you will, would you summarize what those two supplemental pays are?
Yes. The performance pay is based upon our 2012-13 API ranking from the Education Resource Group, And the amount of the one-time supplemental payment for an eligible employee would be a one-time $250 payment if our ERG academic performance ranking is in the top 10%, or $500 if it's in the top 5%. Employees had to be employed on February 1, 2013 of our 12-13 year, which is the year the results are based on. Longevity pay is $100 for each year of service, and it is received after each 5-year anniversary point, and you have to come back and work for the district, and you receive it that following year after the 5th year. Employees that are reaching their 20-year anniversary receive an additional amount of $500 plus the $100 per year. And did you want me to go through any of the...
In the packet, there's a detailed resolution that details the parameters of those payments and the eligibility requirements. If you'd like Ms. Tillman to read those, we should be happy to.
I don't think we need that read, but I want to pose a question. Dr. Burns?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that your staff understands that of these supplemental payments, one of them they receive if they're here by the passage of time? The other one, we don't make a certain performance grade, it doesn't get paid out. Do you think your staff understands that?
Mr. Shore, absolutely. And that's one of the things when I go visit every campus, we talk about that. And unless they're brand new to the district, they understand precisely what that means. We invest in time, we invest in results.
So the supplemental payment based upon performance, we hope that we have to pay that out.
That's right. But if we don't, we don't make it. That's exactly right.
Very good. Mr. Hyde, anything further?
No, sir, just to reiterate, I think Dr.
On agenda item 4B11.
Yes, sir, just to reiterate Dr. Burns's point, if there's anything that's clear to our staff at all levels, it is that performance does matter in this district as a collective group.
Very good. Board members, you've heard the discussion and presentation by Mr. Hyatt and Ms. Tillman. What is your desire? Mr. Shore.
I move that we approve agenda item 4B11.
Very good. I have a motion by Mr. Shore.
Second.
Very good. And Mr. Matthews, the second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. We will now go to 4B12.
Mr. Good, to clarify, the agenda item itself says consider all matters related to the 2014-15 budget, including proposed compensation. Want to be perfectly clear, specifically, this is only this compensation matter that the board is adopting tonight. This is no way to imply you're adopting the budget. You're just considering the compensation item. Ms. Tillman's already mentioned to you, our proposal is a 3% increase based on the employees' current base pay. We recommend that you adopt that tonight so we can proceed with it.
And Mr. Hyatt, isn't it true that this would apply to 99.99999% of the employees in the school district? In other words, it applies to every employee in the district except for the big cheese.
It applies to everyone in the school district except the big cheese and certain other part-time employees that we have a schedule pay that's not really based on an ongoing. They're intermittent employment, so that they don't get just a progressive. They wouldn't have been here consistently. So I wouldn't want to mislead you. There are a few other people, but the superintendent is excluded because the board addresses him separately, and intermittent part-time and temporary employees are excluded.
Okay.
Very good.
And Mr. Hart, we'll clarify for the minutes that will say just consider compensation adjustment for the 14-15 budget. It will not read all matters, so that we make sure the minutes reflect exactly what action the board's taking. So.
Okay. Any other comments or questions, board members? If not, what is your desire on item 4B12? Mr. Matthews.
I move that we approve item 4B12, including the proposed compensation adjustment package, 3% raise for everybody.
Not everybody.
Not everybody.
Except Bobby.
And those other people.
And those part-time people.
For eligible employees.
Very good. Mr. Shore.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Hyatt, 4B14.
Yes, sir. 4B14 is related to the competitive seal proposals for the construction manager at risk for the Ranchview High School classroom addition. This is a significant construction project, and to clarify some of the issues on this item and to further explain it, it's been suggested we remove it from the consent agenda. This is essentially a large construction contract. We've gone through the contractor selection process and identified North Star Construction as the proposed construction manager. And at this time, I'd be happy to answer questions from the board.
I have some questions.
Okay.
Yes, whoever. In looking at this recommendation, I noticed that we, I guess, had originally 9 firms that submitted proposals.
Yes, sir.
So I would like for staff to kind of walk me through the process on how they arrived to the short list of 3 firms.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Just to kind of reflect a little bit on the process, Mr. Hibbs is predominantly responsible for our construction issues. Mr. McLaughlin, our purchasing department, reflects the purchasing responsibilities of the district. So between Mr. Hibbs, Mr. McLaughlin, and myself, we'll try to clarify this, and maybe I'll give it the first shot, Johnny, and if I miss some spots, if you or Mr. McLaughlin can fill in. But Mr. McLaughlin actually initially directs the process. Once the board determines that the project is authorized, then we bring Mr. McLaughlin in to initially establish the process. And we use what's called known as a 2-step process, and a 2-step process is literally 2 separate steps, where the first step is to identify firms that are qualified to do the job regardless of pricing. We want to make sure that we pick the most qualified firms available to do the project. Then we shortlist that list, as you referred to earlier, to the firms that we feel are most qualified, and solicit pricing from those most qualified bidders. We still aren't necessarily required to pick the lowest bid. We are able to consider pricing and qualifications in conjunction with each other to determine what is the best value to the district. But usually, once we've qualified the best qualifications for proposals, the one of those that are shortlisted that provides the lowest price is usually the best value also. In this case, we advertised for, submitted to the general public, requests for qualifications, as well as soliciting qualifications from firms that have previously requested to be included in our process. From the advertisements and solicitations, we received 9 qualification statements. For those 9 qualification statements, we had the board actually authorized our staff to set up a selection committee to evaluate those qualifications. That committee is comprised of Mr. Hibbs, myself, Mr. McLaughlin, Tom Bell, who's our in-house construction manager, and then Mike Elmore, who's with SHW Architects, our design firm. That group, that 5 people, independently do a rating analysis of the proposals. We submit those rating analyses electronically to Mr. McLaughlin. He consolidates them, and frankly, that does a little matrix merge, and whoever scores rank the highest, we sequence them in order, and from the highest rating to the lowest, then we come back again and review breakpoints. We don't necessarily say we're only going to shortlist 3 or 5 or any specific number. I think 5 is the maximum that the purchasing laws allow us to shortlist, but anything less than 5 is where we determine which ones are the best. In this case, we identified 3 firms that we've considered all highly qualified firms to do this particular job. Some of the ones that that rank below those top 3, frankly, are very good firms, probably could have done a very good job. We just considered these 3 the highest qualified. Once we identified those as the 3 most qualified, we solicited pricing proposals from them. In your packet, there's actually a tab sheet that shows that pricing. And in this case, since the 3 firms were all very competent, very capable firms, we had the simple solution of whoever gave us the best fee price was the firm that we recommended to you to build the project.
In that price, what type of value are we receiving as a district as far as price?
Market value, I think, Mr. Hibbs, this is a average to slightly below average what historical pricing has been. I think we got a little bit better than what some of the market rates have been. Pricing fluctuates as the market ebbs and flows. The only way to try to judge relative value, if you will, is when you compare the different fee pricings between the firms that we got. They were all reasonably close, so that indicated there was not a broad range of pricing differences on the market. Historical pricing that we've got, these ranges, these fee ranges are very consistent with what we've gotten in the past. Frankly, by going to the construction manager at risk delivery method, reduces a lot of the unknowns about construction pricing. We're no longer going out for a total bid on the building. Back in the days when districts were only allowed to use traditional bid and build contracts where you would go out and ask for a total price for the whole building, you got some pretty wide ranges of pricing. In this case, we're only asking for the construction manager at risk to provide us their direct fee for doing the pricing, plus some miscellaneous construction overhead costs. Then after we identify them, collectively, we and the construction manager go out and subcontract to all the subcontractors to get supplemental pricing to actually build the project.
Okay. Given that North Star Builders is a startup firm, will capacity be an issue?
Very good question. That is an outstandingly on-point question. It is a small firm. They're relatively new. We've got a lot of experience with the principals in the firm because we've worked with them in the past in different capacities. But since they're small and this is a relatively large project, that's a question that we also pose to them. For this particular project, they've specifically already identified the staff that would be assigned to it, and this is staff that's rolling off existing projects, so the capacity shouldn't be any problem for them.
Yeah, because I understand that they received another award today, so.
Yeah, actually, that is a good point. I believe Argyle Independent School District had a $33 million construction program, primarily a small high school, that this firm was also identified to do the construction management for. None of the staff will overlap. The staff that's assigned to that project is available from a totally different pool of candidates. One of the things we do in the selection process, frankly, we think the individuals assigned to the job are probably as important as the firm that they're employed by. So when we do the evaluations, we're not just evaluating the firm, we make them submit individual names so that we can evaluate the individuals they're assigning to us.
How many current projects do we currently have that North Star is?
North Star is currently working on 2 of our projects. They're finishing up let me put them in sequence because they're frankly way ahead of schedule. Las Colinas Elementary School is a project that they started less than a year ago. And
we're 11 months in.
And we're, don't make me lie, but somewhere around a month ahead of schedule on that job.
Probably so.
The project's in great shape. I drove by this afternoon. They're actually putting side down around the building. The biggest component left on that project individually is to tear down the old building. Unfortunately, we got kids in it right now, so we can't do that step yet. So as soon as our students will go home for summer, we'll knock down the old building. That project will be way ahead of schedule. Ted Polk Middle School is also one of their projects. It started a little later, a little different project, but it's on schedule.
Gotcha. Regarding Ted Polk Middle School, are they self-performing?
I don't believe so.
Bruce, can you come up and maybe address some self-performing issues?
As a general rule, we don't encourage significant elements of self-performance on the job simply because that's not what the construction manager process is for.
Right.
On some elements of the job, it's just much more practical to self-perform. Site cleanup is one of the ones that comes to mind often. It's rather than go hire a separate subcontractor to just come in and clean up once a week or so for them to supply the services and stuff. But Bruce, would you like to explain?
Yeah, 99% of the work completed on the project will be subbed out. As a construction manager, we find, as Mr. Hyatt said, it's best value for the district. We'll competitively bid that, and like I said, 99% of it will be subbed out.
And Bruce, would you identify yourself for the board?
Bruce Helm, President, North Star Builders Group.
Okay. So regarding self-performance, so you do hire additional staff?
Yes.
Gotcha. What percentage are Carrollton-Farmers branch residents or citizens?
You know, I don't have the information in front of me. We have 29 employees. I can tell you I'm a 21-year resident of Carrollton. But my people I know, I can tell you they're all in the Metroplex, as are the subcontractors. Over 90% of the subcontractors are Metroplex.
That was my next question, is what percentage of the subcontractors are?
Yeah, we've been in this market, I've been in this market for over 20 years, know the local market, and we keep it here. We have over 90% of our subcontractors from the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Do you guys use any diverse firms such as MBEs and WBEs?
We do. We actually looked at that on your two projects, specifically at Polk. We're running around 11% participation, and at Las Colinas, which is a larger project, we're at around 16.5%.
Are you guys using certified diverse firms?
Yeah, Hub certified. There's a website that we can go to and see who's certified. We've also got a woman's council. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of it. And we have Texo that we use, and the DFW Minority Business Council we also use. We like to put our plans in the Hispanic Contractors Association room and the Black Contractors Association room. So we encourage participation.
Gotcha. Let me move on to the Las Colinas Replacement Elementary School.
Okay.
Same question. Do you, I guess, regarding self-performing, you guys contract?
Yeah, it's again, about 1% of the project will be self-performed.
Gotcha. And so I assume the percentages will be pretty much the same?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Just as a personal note, you might tell them who the actual job boss, not necessarily construction superintendent, but who the job boss that did the McCoy Elementary School project when you were actually with a different firm.
Yeah, that would be my wife. I've had 4 kids go through McCoy. One has graduated at Smith, have one there now, and I have one at Polk. Gotcha. And she's pretty proud when she gets to tell all of her students that her dad's part of that construction. So, but he's right, my wife runs the...
It's the only job I've ever been associated with that a PTA mom got to come back and give me detailed construction advice.
Well, I guess this last question, I guess I'll be asking a question that I already know the answer to. Given the short list, which was Hunt Construction, Balfour Beatty, and North Star, given that Balfour Beatty and Hunt Construction, they had a little bit more, I guess, jobs completed history, what kind of put North Star over the hump, so to speak, for this particular project?
Fees. It's about a $200,000 savings to go with North Star.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Very good. Board members, any additional questions?
Mr. Hyatt, partially related, but maybe not completely related, but construction costs are going up at some pretty amazing costs. What have we got built into the bid that's going to make sure we're protected in that?
The CM at risk construction method actually helps us to some degree, because now that you allow us to select this firm, they'll go out and immediately start establishing subcontract bids and getting subcontract amounts, and once they establish their subcontract relationships, they'll establish a maximum, what they literally in the industry call a guaranteed maximum price, and then within about how long will it take you, Bruce, to get your GMP? About
probably the fall.
Yeah, by early fall, we'll get a guaranteed maximum price, and once they lock in that price, that will be a guaranteed price that will lock in regardless of what rates do between then and now. This delivery method probably helps as much as anything to get the best value for the money. I'll be real candid with you. It's not absolutely guaranteed to be the best price, but what you will get is, to the largest degree, what Dr. Burns talks about. We will get a better project, better suited for our students, and a better constructed project at a very, very reasonable price.
For what it's worth, I got the opportunity with Dr. Burns and with Mr. Hibbs to tour the Las Colinas building.
What'd you think?
And fellow board members, if you haven't had a chance to see it, and congratulations to you, it is an amazing facility. It's going to be fabulous, and they've done an outstanding job getting us a top flight project.
Congratulations goes to the North Star, but I see Mike Elmore from SHW Architects, our design architect on that project, as well as our internal staff, Mr. Hibbs and Mr. Bell. When you're building a building adjacent to an existing building on an existing site, it presents some unique problems. The design problems, our architects did a great job. But Northside, we talk about differentiation between why they got shortlisted, if you will. This was a difficult construction project. You're building a school 10 feet away from a school with 600 kids in it, doing it safely, doing it to disrupt class as little as possible. And probably you noticed today too, or when you went out there, and it's been true consistently throughout the project, one of the neatest, most well-maintained, organized construction sites I've had the pleasure of being associated with. A neat construction site is a productive construction site.
Any other questions, comments? Board members, what's your pleasure on agenda item 4B14? Mr. Short.
Move that we approve agenda item 4B14.
Ms. Klein.
I would second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to agenda item 4C, which is consideration and possible action regarding termination of probationary contract teacher at the end of current contract period, Alma Castaneda. Dr. Burns, before we take any action on this matter, I realize this is also listed as a matter for potentially closed session on our agenda. Has a request been made for a closed meeting discussion of this matter?
Not to my knowledge. I'll check with HR and Trini and our council. No requests for this from the employee?
No, sir, Dr. Burns, there's been no request for that.
Okay.
We preemptively put this on the agenda in case the board had sensitive questions that they thought was appropriate to deliberate in closed sessions, but there's been no requests.
Okay. Next question is for the board members. Do any of the board members wish to discuss this matter in closed session? Hearing none, seeing none. Board members, any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none.
Well, don't we have to hear something to know what we're discussing?
Well, there's an administrative recommendation in here.
Yeah.
You want me to read the administrative recommendation?
Well, I already know what the recommendation is.
Well, we're open for discussion. Mr. Shore, is there?
Corroboration was in the letter.
Okay. Have we heard anything from this teacher since apparently she has been charged with a criminal violation?
We'll let, Ms. Garza, will you come up to the mic and she can inform you on the steps that HR has taken and then really clarify the action that the board will be taking.
And before we
And
go-
she may need Ms. Hayes back there.
Council.
Well, I think Mr. Shore's only asking what is the action you want the board to take.
Yeah.
We've been in conversation with the teacher on numerous occasions, and she's aware of the violation, and we did discuss with her termination based on 2 reasons. The failure to report this arrest to her supervisor, and then being absent without leave. She is aware. We've had numerous conversations with her via phone call, email, and U.S. mail and certified mail.
Mr. Shore, other questions? Or points of
Not that are
clarification?
pertinent to this.
Okay. Board members, this is an action item. What is your desire? Mr. Shore.
See if I get this phrased correctly. I move that we I don't know if we're affirming the administration's recommendation or if we are merely moving to terminate the probationary contract of the subject teacher.
The request is for the board to move to terminate the probationary contract and authorize the president to provide the necessary notification.
Okay.
Okay, can I just say that that's my motion?
Yes.
Very good. I have a motion.
I have a second.
I have a second by Mr. Fleming. Any further discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you. Agenda item 4D, consider approval of waiver for SS 33.901 Universal Breakfast Program. Dr. Burns, what information?
Mr. Good, members of the board, you do have some, obviously, supplemental documentation in your packet. Mr. Hyatt, do you want to have any commentary regarding this? In addition to that,
information is relatively
material?
self-explanatory. This is a relatively minor enough issue. We would have put it on the consent agenda, except as part of the statute, it actually requires an opportunity for public comment. It's not to be confused with a hearing. It's just, we don't have to close for a hearing, but just as part of the agenda item, you should solicit public comment on the item before you take action.
Board members, you've had an opportunity to review the information. Is there any discussions, questions at this time?
No.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that
Before you act to motion, I would suggest just for form to turn to the audience and solicit public comment if there were to be any.
And Mr. Wright, even though it's not a public hearing, is it required that we go into recess, or can you just call for public comment?
It's just as part of the meeting, solicit public comment.
Are there any public comments regarding the Universal Breakfast Program? Seeing none in the audience, board members, what is your pleasure? Ms. White?
I move that we accept, that we accept the 4D, consider approval of waiver for the Universal Breakfast Program.
Very good. I have a motion.
I'll second that.
Mr. Shackman, I have a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. That is unanimous. Thank you very much. Agenda item 4E, discussion of business case for diverse supplier inclusion.
Mr. Good and members of the board, we would like to table this and bring it back at a later date for you guys, if that's acceptable.
Board members, is that acceptable?
That is acceptable.
Very good. Thank you very much. With that, agenda item 5, comments from board members regarding posted agenda items. Board members? Anything? Going once? Going twice? Agenda item 6. Dr. Burns, before I read this, are there any items for closed session?
No, sir, they're not. You have already acted on the necessary item for closed session if needed.
Very good. With that, we will skip the reading and go to, are you ready, board members? Agenda item 8, which is adjournment. I'm assuming there is no hesitancy to accept. We have reached the end of our agenda, and therefore we are adjourned at 10:15 p.m.
Mr. Good, yes, I'm ready for adjournment. Yeah.